Zimmer.
First, managers under stress. It comes with the territory. Last night, Tigers manager Sparky Anderson left Detroit and returned home to California under doctor's orders. Sparky is suffering from physical exhaustion, needs complete rest. First base coach Dick Tracewski will take over in the interim.
I knew Sparky wasn't feeling well the last week or so, and his back was bothering him some. He complained about a bad back, and I think we all have that a little bit. But nothing as serious as complete exhaustion and leaving the ball club.
Tigers struggling this season has certainly not helped the situation. And just a while ago, we spoke with Dr. Clarence Livingood, Anderson's physician. He told us that the essence of the problem is that Sparky has been unable to sleep worrying about the club, and demands on his time have left him totally exhausted. The situation is week to week. The earliest he can return is in about 2 weeks, but he is definitely expected back. Of course, another manager under stress for different reasons, Cincinnati's Pete Rose, the subject of a gambling investigation. And back with us this week, the man who has continuously been on this story for NBC News, Bob Jamieson. Bob, welcome back. They are supposed to have a hearing on Thursday, a hearing with Pete Rose in terms of talking about the report that came out. But now the attorneys for Rose have asked for a postponement. Why did they ask for the postponement?
Yeah, they asked for a 30-day postponement because they said they haven't had adequate time to rebut the allegations in this massive report produced by baseball's 3-month-long investigation into Rose's gambling activities. Commissioner Bart Giamatti is supposed to rule on their request Monday, but frankly, I don't think there's going to be a hearing Thursday.
Why no hearing? Why do you think that?
I think that this request for a postponement in the hearing is simply the first step toward legal action.
When you say legal action, what do you mean specifically? And are we talking about something now that could be tied up in the courts for a long time?
Possibly. It's my best guess that if Giamatti rules against the Rose camp's request for a postponement of the hearing, they will immediately go into court, file a lawsuit against the commissioner, charging perhaps that they have not had adequate time to prepare to rebut the results of this investigation, that in fact there's a rush to judgment on the commissioner's part.
When you ask for a postponement in a situation like this, it clearly leads one to believe that there is perhaps much in the report that is damaging, that they have to do some more homework. What do you think is in that report?
Well, drawing conclusions about the reason for the postponement beyond what they've said is I think, a little bit dangerous to do. There are only 4 copies of the report. I don't have one. Those who do have the report are bound by a confidentiality agreement, and they've all stuck to it pretty well. We do know from the investigation some things that are in it. Very serious charges against Rose, perhaps devastating testimony by former associates that he gambled on baseball. But the word around last week was that after reading the report, the Rose camp found no surprises in it. And they had said earlier that there was no smoking gun. Now, does that mean the same? We don't know. It may come down to Rose's word against the words of former associates who charged that he did gamble on baseball.
What's going to happen to Pete Rose? When will it be resolved?
I don't know when it'll be resolved. This could go on for a very, very long time, particularly if, as I suspect it will, it ends up in court. But there's always the possibility that Commissioner Giamatti, even with the matter in court, might try to take some action against Rose and might try to suspend him.
All right, Bob Jamieson, thank you once again for coming in here, being with us, and you're heading back to Cincinnati.
Yes, I'm heading back to my summer home in Cincinnati.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Gail.
Time now for our news of the week, which begins with a couple of key moments from last night. Another almost no-hitter and some extra inning heroics. In Oakland last night, Dwight Evans of the Red Sox belted this grand slam off A's reliever and former teammate Dennis Eckersley as Boston defeated Oakland 7-4 in 10 innings. Now, also last night in Houston, Mike Scott had a no-hitter through 7 innings. When Pittsburgh's Glenn Wilson led off the 8th with that single to center, it turned out to be the only hit of the game. It was the 5th one-hitter in the majors this season. And you're looking at the final out. Mike Scott getting the win as the Astros blanking the Pirates 3-0. The Pirates' Randy Kramer was looking to become the 14th rookie to pitch a no-hitter. In the 7th inning, Cincinnati's Herman Winningham hit a grounder under the glove of first baseman Sid Bream. The scoreboard immediately registered a hit, but official scorer Glenn Sample ruled it was an error after watching the replay. Then the Reds' Jeff Reed hit a grounder under the glove of Pirates second baseman Jose Lean. This was also scored an error, but in the 8th inning with 2 outs, Ron Oster hit a double into the left field corner to break up the no-hit bid as Kramer went all the way, got the one-hitter and only his 4th major league start. The troubled Toronto Blue Jays fired manager Jimmy Williams and replaced him with batting coach Cito Gaston on an interim basis. They are 3-1 so far under Gaston. And on Thursday night in Seattle, Milwaukee reliever Mark Knudsen threw a wild pitch in the fourth inning with the bases loaded, scoring Dave Valley and Harold Reynolds. He later threw another, scoring Alvin Davis. Mark had not thrown a wild pitch in 25 innings, but he threw two in about 25 seconds, clearing the bases. A wild and woolly time for Mark Knudsen. Now, before the Mets-Giants game, most of you will see here today on NBC, they held the Equitable Old Timers game at Shea, featuring the '69 Mets against an assortment of former players. A symbolic raising of the '69 championship flag one more time. The stalwarts of the '69 pitching staff, Cy Young winner Tom Seaver and Jerry Koosman, they combined for 42 wins that year. Met manager Davey Johnson played for the losing Orioles in that series. Cleon Jones, whose catch ended the series, he batted .340 that year, a year Pete Rose won the batting title. And, of course, the inimitable bullpen ace Tug McGraw. Just about the entire '69 Mets team was able to return to Shea today. And when we return, we'll take you back to 1969 to relive one of the most memorable turnarounds in baseball history.
NBC Sports presents Major League Baseball, an inside...
It achieves almost legendary status. Such is the case of the '69 Mets, from laughingstock to world champion, overtaking the first-place Cubs, beating the Braves for the pennant, defeating the Orioles in the World Series. It is a story which endures 20 years later, in part because of the framework in which it happened. 1969, Richard Nixon and Spiro Agnew emerged after a year of political assassination, and the baseball season began as Sirhan Sirhan was convicted of murdering Bobby Kennedy. Ted Kennedy made headlines as well, Chappaquiddick, part of a long, hot, troubled summer. While B-52s were bombing Saigon, Charles Manson and his disciples were leaving their own bloody trail in Southern California. At the same time, John and Yoko were bedding in for peace, and we were reaching out for the moon and getting there. From the mystery of space to a simple pasture in Woodstock, New York, it was a very special time. And it was in this lunar and sometimes lunatic landscape that the Miracle Mets would thrive.
Ground ball is short. This could be it. There's one. There's two. The game is over. The Mets are the champion. At 9:07 on September 24th, the Mets have won the championship of the Eastern Division of the National League.
We brought some enthusiasm, some life, some happiness to people at a time it was a difficult time in this country. It might sound a little corny, but I really believe that. I think people remember and thank us for that.
Very simply, the men who had been renting the cellar for years suddenly owned the building. The Cranepools, the Seavers, the Swobodas, the Weisses. 25 players, 25 contributions, one champion. A team not driven by inflated egos and certainly not by money, but by a desire to give what one could for the greater good. And they were pushed by a taskmaster who platooned them and showed no favoritism, the late Gil Hodges.
You know all the cliches about John Wayne? Gil Hodges was John Wayne. He was a very strong, dominant figure, probably the most significant manager on any baseball team I've ever seen. And players were in fear of him. They related to him, they admired him, they respected him, but at the same time, they would never cross him. And I believe to this day, 20 years later, they would not have won the pennant with any other manager other than Gil Hodges.
The '69 season has become the stuff of legend. It's like the infamous Black Cat who ran in front of the Cubs dugout on a September day at Shea, permanently jinxing Leo DeRocher and his then first-place Cubs. Each player has a storehouse of such memories and events. For New York manufacturer Ed Cranepool, it was the West Coast road trip in early June when the boys of summer first became men.
We couldn't beat Sandy Koufax in California. We couldn't beat Don Drysdale, Juan Marichal, Hall of Famers. They loved to see the Mets. They'd meet us at the airport, take you to the ballpark, and let's go. I mean, before we left town, each series, we were down 2-0. But to win 9 games in a row in California meant something to us.
For Art Shamsky, now co-owner of Legends Restaurant in New York, it was the moments just before each game at Shea.
I remember when I used to get ready to run out in the outfield, and I'd see, looking out over the right field fence at Shea, and I'd see the subway station, which is right there, the stop to go to Shea Stadium. I'd see these thousands and thousands of people running off the subway platform to get into Shea They didn't want to miss the first pitch. Everybody was into that season, into the Mets that year.
For insurance and real estate man Tommy Agee, it's the children who want the autograph of a man they never saw play.
A lot of them come to me like they know me from 20 years ago. They're 8, 9 years old. And I ask them, so how do you know me? You know, my father told me, we saw film 10 times, you know, stuff like that.
And for New Orleans sportscaster Ron Swoboda, it was a once-in-a-lifetime accomplishment. One moment, one play, the catch that saved Game 4 of the '69 series.
I really didn't think I was going to get there, but I did know I was going to dive. I couldn't do that. And I laid out to my backhand side and felt that thing hit my web right in the right place. And I said, man, I just made one hell of a catch here.
Fly ball, deep left field. Jones is back to the fence. Jones is on the warning track. The World Series is over. Jones makes the catch.
Cleon Jones with the catch, and the always great irony of former Oriole Davy Johnson making the final out against the Mets in that series. We'll be back to wrap things up right after this.
That's just what I suspected.
Here we go. Next Saturday's game of the week featuring the A's and the Yankees, or the Reds and the Cubs, will be seen at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 2 p.m. Eastern Time. It is time now for the Mets and Giants, or the Astros and Pirates. We will have updates for you throughout the day, and thank you for being with us.
Nigel, the Dark Destroyer Benn, the most dangerous pound-for-pound puncher in boxing today. When the Dark Destroyer enters the ring, the only bad seat in the house is the small wooden one in the opposite corner. Live from London, Benn battles Michael Watson on NBC Sports World.
It is such an unpredictable year that the National League's leading home run hitter, Kevin Mitchell, is best remembered for the catch. And his teammate, Will Clark, is hitting a very smooth .361, one of the more feared hitters in the National League. And in New York, the straw that stirs the drink, Darryl Strawberry, homering last night to give him 10. And that's the battle cry today. Mitchell and Clark and Strawberry as the Giants collide with the Mets.
The National Broadcasting Company, now in its 7th decade of bringing you baseball's memories. Baseball's milestones. Baseball's magical moments. And baseball's miracles. NBC Sports proudly presents the Major League Baseball Game of the Week.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Tom Seaver. Welcome to Shea Stadium, the home of the first-place New York Mets and the visiting second-place San Francisco Giants. The scene of 7 consecutive games where the winning team has pulled it out in its last at-bat. Most recently, the Mets last night getting 4 walks in the 10th inning to force over the winning run. But the other big story in New York, the injury to Keith Hernandez. For 11 straight years, Hernandez never lost more than 15 games in a season. Last year, with a bad hamstring, he played only 95. And this year, with a fractured kneecap, he might be out until August. Last year, the Mets were just 2 games above 500 without him. Will they hit the skids in '89? Let's find out and go to Tom.
Thank you, Vinny. Keith, how did it happen?
Well, it was a ground ball on the right side of the infield, and I was on first base, and Dave Anderson made the play and came over to tag me, so it's my job to bump him to prevent 2, and our knees knocked, and that's all she wrote.
Did you know you were hurt right away?
No, I played 2 innings after, and then all of a sudden I realized in the second inning that it was more serious.
It got to be very frustrating for you. You're just starting to swing the bat extremely well.
Well, yeah, I've been hot now for the last week, and I was doing all the things I'm supposed to do in a 3-hole, and it's just terribly frustrating for me. It's 2 years in a row now, and I'm real disappointed.
You're the natural leader on the ball field. Last year when you got hurt, this ball club just barely played 500 baseball. How much are they going to miss you?
Well, I think this year they're going to handle a lot better. I know what I read in the papers the other day, the day after the injury. They know they got to pick the slack up. That's why you have 24 players, and we have Tim Tuffle, Dave Magadan, and Lee Mazzelli to play first, and I'm sure they'll do a great job, and they'll carry the load till I get back.
You think it'll be 2 months before you're back on the field?
Well, I don't know. I've never had something like this before. I know it's 6 weeks in this splint, and rehab's going to come, and that's going to be slow, so it probably will be two months at the earliest.
Keith, good luck. Hope you get back very soon.
All right, Tom.
All right, that's the word from Keith Hernandez, Vinny.
In spring training of '89, Buck Rogers of the Montreal Expos said the Mets are going to be catchable because of the age of Gary Carter and Keith Hernandez. Well, Gary Carter is on the disabled list, and Hernandez is lost till August. We'll get to the starting lineup. We'll have all the pregame stats and stories all coming up right after this.
Week is brought to you by Mitsubishi Motors, who invites you to come see the full line of cars and trucks. By Budweiser, Beechwood aged for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. And by Die Hard, America's most trusted replacement battery. Die Hard, with more power when you need it most. And now, here's today's Die Hard starting lineup.
Here they are with Butler, Thompson, and Clark, the top three. Mitchell, Maldonado, and Obergfell, and then men wearing Uribe and Krukow. And on the mound trying to slow down the Giants, the left-hander Bob Ojeda. Ojeda, 0-3 against San Francisco last year, has won once this year while losing 4, and starts off to Brett Butler with a strike. Ojeda, who has a 300-acre ranch in Visalia, was involved, you remember, with the Garden Shears last year and almost ended his career. 1 ball and 1 strike. Brett Butler, one of the better leadoff men in the National League. A threat to bunt. He has 9 bunt singles. He had 20 bunt singles last year. Hit foul, off third and out of play, and the count 1-2. Let's take a look at the Mets with the leather.
Kevin McReynolds in left field, Vinny Dykstra in center, the straw, Darryl Strawberry in right, Howard Johnson at third, Kevin Elster at short, Timmy Tuffle, Dave Madigan in for Keith Hernandez, and Barry Lyons behind the plate.
Still 1-2. When Roger Craig was in San Diego, he platooned a lot, and when he became the manager of the Giants for the next 3 years, he's used a lot of different lineups. It wasn't last year that he finally found an everyday leadoff hitter. In 1987, 9 men led off for the Giants, but now they have Brett Butler. Fouled away. I would think this is quite a battle. Admittedly, the first hitter of the game, he wants to get his ball club started in the right way, and for the pitcher, it is a big challenge. He wants to be able to use his windup for as long as he can.
Well, it is one of the classic battles with the first hitter that you face in the game, especially for Bobby Ojeda, who has been struggling, for him to establish that he can throw the ball in the strike zone. And certainly Butler, an outstanding leadoff hitter.
Just off the corner, a little slider in the count, 2-2.
You know, you look at Ojeda's numbers, 39 innings pitched, 19 base on balls, 19 strikeouts, and he is traditionally a control pitcher.
Oh, yeah, last year he was 4th in the league.
Yeah.
Fastball, and it's into left field. So Brett Butler continues to do what he does so well, get on base.
Butler, of course, came over from the Cleveland Indians as a free agent deal and has been an outstanding leadoff hitter for Roger Craig and the Giants. And he can go to the opposite field as well as anybody in the league. A lot of trouble last night, but
You have to watch him now. Butler has stolen 7 bases. They're going to be looking at him right away. And at the plate, you have a player with whom you can use a play, Robbie Thompson. Thompson, pretty good bunter, pretty good hit and run man. So we'll see what they do. For Robbie Thompson, 6 of his last 10 hits have been for extra bases. He has always done well against Mets pitching. In fact, he's been more successful with the bat, over 370 against the Mets, than any other team in the National League for whatever reason. One ball and 1 strike.
You know, Butler at first base, 7 stolen bases, been thrown out 6 times, and against left-handers, when he's been running, he's 0 for 4. Unsuccessful in 4 attempts that he's made trying to steal off a left-hander, Vinny.
Well, then we'll see whether that is in Rogers' mind. 1 ball, 1 strike if they put a play on.
Yeah, you would think maybe a play, maybe hit and run. You know, Thompson, a much better hitter when they do something. He has a high strikeout ratio, 111 strikeouts last year for a guy who was basically a contact hitter.
2-1 the count. That's a manager's delight. Davey Johnson keeps a computer record of all the teams against whom the Mets play, and he keeps managers' tendencies. So when the Giants arrived, he punched up the computer Roger Craig, and he can look back and find out just when Craig plays hit and run, when he bunts. We'll see if he does something 2-1. They're thinking that. Bill Fahey is coaching at third. He'll be hanging out the signs for Roger, and Wendell Kim will be coaching at first. There's Fahey. 2 balls and 1 strike to Robbie Thompson. We'll watch Butler. He's going. And it's a hit and run drive to straightaway center to Lenny Dykstra, who has to really extend that right arm to pick it off. And Butler comes back to first. Dykstra made a couple of fine plays the other night against Los Angeles, going back and diving on his face. So he can go get him.
He can't get him outstandingly in the center field position for the Mets. And one thing that we have seen in the games that we've done here at Shea Stadium, Benny, is how the wind can play tricks for the ball in the air and the outfield. It will blow in different ways. The wind will come in one end of the stadium and blow around and blow across the field or blow straight in. So the center fielder and all the outfielders have to be very alert in the outfield. You never know which way the ball's going to go.
The weatherman tells us that, number one, we have a southeast wind, which is blowing from back of the right field corner and across to left. And that's usually a wet wind, and they're talking about rain tomorrow. And here is one of the pure hitters in the league, Will Clark. First ball swinging and lifting a fly ball to McReynolds. So that's a big out to get on one pitch. Clark was hitting 361. You like the way he swings the bat?
I saw him last night for the first time, Ben. And you know what it reminds me of? Not necessarily his setup, but seeing the pictures of Stan Musial swing the bat when he lets it go.
Yeah.
Not the setup and not how his approach, but when he goes to the hitting zone, it seems a lot like Stan Musial.
He's one of the finest hitters I've ever seen, and he's just starting out. Now, here's the fella who is tearing him up. Kevin Mitchell with 12 home runs to lead the league, 40 RBIs, and a .301 batting average. And, of course, formerly with the Mets. I love that quote of Mitchell's. Not that you've got to swing the bat. Everybody says that, but only the mailman walks. That sounds like the title of a novel. I love it. 2 down. First inning, no score. Where'd you start? Off speed. Good change on the corner for a strike, and the count 0-1. Mitchell was with the Mets from 1980 until he was involved in the San Diego 8-player deal in 1986. His grandmother, Mrs. Whitfield in San Diego, has raised him since he was 2 years old, and she has had a tremendous influence in his life, especially here in New York with that terrible, terrible story about Wilding. You ought to talk to Kevin Mitchell, and Mitchell will tell you about living the life of a member of a gang, and it's disastrous. You know, he was shot 3 times as a result of his gang involvement. His brother Donald was killed 10 years ago in a gang-related incident. As Kevin said, he was in the wrong part of town and got into trouble somewhere where he shouldn't have been. And any kids across the country, here's a guy who'll tell you all about the so-called glory of being a gang member and just how useless and pathetic it really is. Kevin Mitchell. And it's his grandmother who finally got him straightened out. 2 down, first inning. Butler at first. We'll see if he tries to get the jump. Doubtful with Mitchell up there. And Kevin lifting a fly ball to Strawberry. And so that's the top of the first. As Bob Ojeda gave up the leadoff single to Butler. One ball was hit hard. Thompson, but he walks away with a 0 on the board. First inning, the prospects of a fine game. Here are the Mets. Lenny Dykstra, Tim Tuffle, and Howard Johnson. Darryl Strawberry, Kevin McReynolds, and Dave Magadan. Barry Lyons, Kevin Elster, and Bob Ojeda. And on the mound for San Francisco, Mike Krukow. Krukow, 2-1, makes it a habit of beating the Mets. He's won 120 games in his career, and 20 of those victories have come at the expense of the New York Mets. 1-0 the count to Lenny Dykstra. Krukow and Bobby Ojeda.
One of the things about a veteran like Krukow, Vinny, is in his 13th year in the big leagues, 37 years old, and he's from the old school, and he is not afraid to pitch inside. He will establish inside.
He's had arm trouble, shoulder trouble. So I'm not quite sure how much velocity he has. And he'll give you a fastball, curve, slider. And he's throwing a split finger change.
The umpires called a ball, said he went to his mouth.
And he said, no, I went up around my eyes. And here comes Roger Craig.
It was a warm day here in New York, and perspiration, I can tell you that from the old timers game down there. I only had to get 2 outs, and I was drenched.
It is in the 80s.
But he's called a ball.
Yeah, Krukow has had to be restrained by, well, watch him on the mound. He brought his hand to the back of his cap, then up there. Now, but we can't see whether that's the mouth or not, but it was called immediately. Naturally, Jerry Davis, the plate umpire, said he did, but Krukow gestured, no, I touched my cheek under my eye. It's going to count for a ball and a count 1-1.
Probably wiping perspiration off from underneath his eye, but covering his mouth, he can't tell. Davis went right to a decision to call it a ball.
1-1 to Lenny Dykstra. You know, Dykstra, dynamite in a small package. He has hit 8 career leadoff home runs. The latest, May the 3rd, against Jose Rio. And he's playing very well. Get that average close to 300. Line foul down the line. 2-2. Lenny Dykstra, the kid they call Nails from Garden Grove. Three balls, 2 strikes, the count to Lenny Dykstra. If Dykstra gets aboard, you have an added burden because he's perfect in stolen bases. He's 7 for 7. Ground ball, and Clark was going to the line, just did go back to get it. I don't know if he lost that ball, what happened to Clark, but he was going the wrong way and was able to jam the brakes, and he is a fine fielding first baseman.
And after that, he was talking to the umpire about why he was going one way or going the other. If he didn't see it come off the bat, or I can't tell what went wrong, but it looked like the ball just bounced straight left all of a sudden. Did hit that seam and bounced left. That's what he was talking about. There's a young man that thinks there's nothing on the field that he can't do, and Will Clark.
I might agree with him too as Tim Tuffle steps in. Ball 1.
When you put the numbers here in 361, you could just about say anything you want.
Tim Tuffle has said almost anything he wants as he hits a ball to short. Uribe, who's the only Giant to start every game, throws him out. Tuffle, who had been alternating with Greg Jeffries, then Jeffries suddenly took over, and Davey Johnson said, because I feel that alternating perhaps shake the confidence of Jeffries. And then Tuffle said, wait a minute, what has that got to do with who's playing second base? What about my feelings? And there was something.
We've talked about Jeffries before during these games, Vinny. We talked about it being built up so much over the winter and being put on the steps of Cooperstown and not even into a full rookie year yet. And I think the press is put on, and he's believed everything he's read in the press and put so much pressure on himself, and he's having a very difficult time. Got booed here last night at Shea Stadium.
And was taken out for a pinch hitter when it didn't figure, and we find out he has tendinitis of the right hand. So Jeffries, a switch hitter, could play or bat hitting left-handed but not right-handed. Meanwhile, Howard Johnson, he's happy to swing from either side of the plate. 7 of his 9 home runs come from this side, and there's a fly ball to right center. However, that should be handily. Oh, a near collision, a bump, and Maldonado, who outweighs Butler and is taller than Butler, made the catch. That can be tough. It's very hard to hear any calls here in this stadium. This is the noisiest ballpark. Plus, with the wind blowing from right to left, the planes are taking off directly overhead. We move to the second inning. No score in the ball game, and Bob Ojeda ready to pitch to Candy Maldonado, then Ken Oberkfell and Kurt Manwaring. Maldonado, who outmuscled Butler for that fly ball, none the worse for wear. Candy has really fallen off. He had 2 great years for San Francisco, and then this year he just can't get started. He did hit 2 home runs in 1 game in Philadelphia, but it's been a sizable effort for him. 2-0. And he hits a high fly ball to right center. The wind will kind of bring that back over to Dykstra. 1 down. When you played here, Tom, under conditions somewhat like today, where the airplanes were taking off directly overhead, did that present any problem at all with your concentration?
It didn't bother me at all. People who it bothered Rusty Staub a lot. It bothers Keith Hernandez a lot when he's hitting. And it never really bothered me when I pitched here. It's odd that I got traded to the Cincinnati Reds and came back and played for Cincinnati, had been away from Shea Stadium, and then it bothered me. Then it really got noisy.
0-1.
And I played the last inning that center field and the right fielder collided. It was exactly right, because they were hearing that airplane before we heard it here inside the stadium.
No balls and 1 strike to Ken Oberkfell. Ground ball wide of first. Magadan is there feeding Ojeda. Emphatic call by Eric Gray.
You know, it's amazing that Bobby Ojeda is even, much less pitching in the major leagues, that they can even throw a ball. Magadan, of course, a replacement for Keith Hernandez, who went on the DL. Bobby a little late getting to first base, but touching it with that inside foot. Young man that almost cut the middle finger of his pitching hand off last year. I was talking to him about it yesterday. He said he was out doing some yard work, and he had only been out for a minute or 2, and then he felt something and looked down, and all he could see was bone in the middle finger of his pitching hand. And he said, uh-oh, I know this is really serious. He went to the hospital with his wife, and he had to calm his wife down. She was so upset about what was going on. He finally realized that if he was going to at the hospital, he was going to have to control her to get her senses back together, because she was the one doing the driving.
1 ball and no strikes. Kurt Manwaring, the young catcher behind the plate for San Francisco today. No score, top of the second inning. Drive to right. Strawberry will try and cut it off at the pass, and does, and holds Manwaring to the single. So a 2-out base hit to right field will bring up Jose Uribe. Jose Uribe, the only Giant to start every game this year. It seems kind of early, doesn't it, to say that, and yet it's pertinent. You don't get people playing the entire season anymore.
The guy that plays first base for him played all of them last year. There's only 1 of 3 major league players last year. Will Clark to play, only a national leaguer, only 1 of 3 major leaguers to play all games last year.
Eddie Murray, now of the Los Angeles Dodgers, figures to play every day, and Cal Ripken of Baltimore, and that's the three.
That's the two of them on one team last year, and those two guys play every day.
0-1 to count.
When I was in Japan a couple of times, Vinny, a sidelight to that, Sadaharu Oh, the great home run hitter who passed Henry Aaron, played every inning of every game, exhibition, season, and postseason. Every inning of every game.
And then there's Chris Brown, just released by the Detroit Tigers. And they figured it out that Brown had played 179 games of 362, maybe half the games. They just couldn't get him in the lineup for whatever reason. And I mean, we're talking about a fellow who made, I guess, over $250,000 and apparently has a lot of tools. 0-2 to Jose, and there goes Manwaring, foul back.
You know, I asked Sadaharu Oh about that, about playing in the games. I said, don't you ever take a rest or whatever? He says, the reason I play every day, every inning of every game all season long, in his direct words, so people are paying the money to come to this ballpark to see me play, and I don't take 2 innings off at the end of the game. Exhibition games everywhere. We play every inning. He says, the people pay their money, they get to see me play.
Japanese players are extremely conscious of the fans. Another thing I remember seeing when I went over there the first time, 0-2, 0-1. A pitcher would get knocked out of the ballgame. He would not go in the clubhouse and disappear. He would go down to the bullpen and pitch. This was telling the crowd, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back and practice, and I'll see you next time.
There is much honor in Japanese baseball.
Very much. 1-2 the count to Uribe. No score in the second. And that's going to be lifted to Strawberry. So Ojeda getting a lot of fly ball outs. He's gotten 4 in 2 innings, but he's getting them one way or the other. And at the end of an inning and a half, no score.
It was Dean Witter's personal philosophy of success.
We have a sacred trust to protect our customers.
But its impact was felt on California Street,
To maintain conservative policies.
on Lincoln Street, and Acorn Street.
To put the interest of our clients first.
Dean Witter put principles before profit, people before portfolios. There are many ways to measure success on Wall Street.
We measure success one investor at a time.
Dean Witter, a member of the Sears Financial Network.
Okay, look, I like my steaks very well done. What most people call ruined, I call perfect. I know it's not popular. And if I weren't 6'9", I'd catch a lot of flack.
I got a taste for some real food.
I heard Larry Bird liked well-done steaks, so maybe I'll invite him over for a couple of sirloins. Nice, rare sirloins. I got you, Larry. I got you.
I got a taste for some real food.
This summer, whatever you do, wherever you go, Coca-Cola Classic will be there. It's the one soft drink enjoyed 5 million more times every day than any other. It's America's favorite under the sun. Summer and Coca-Cola Classic.
Can't beat the real thing. Can't beat the feeling.
My athlete's foot kept flaring up. I'd put it out, and it'd just flare up again. Then my doctor told me about Tinactin. It cures recurring athlete's foot. Use it regularly, and it'll keep the fire from coming back.
Tinactin puts the fire out for good.
This year, Germany's prestigious Golden Steering Wheel Award went to the Mitsubishi Mirage. The Germans would have preferred that it be one of their own, but in the end, everybody loves a winner.
Photo day, picture day in spring training, and Keith Hernandez and Darryl Strawberry had words, and you heard about it all around the country. And then the other night, Keith Hernandez came back, banged up, in a rather sensitive moment. Darryl fouling off Kruko's pitch in the count 0-1. Strawberry with 3 home runs in his last 4 games. But the problem is the Mets can't hit home runs with men on base. Big slow curve for a strike. This again was after the knee had been put in the splint. Keith came out to the park yesterday, and Strawberry trying to tell him to hang in there. So Kruko dispatches him 1 down. Talking about home runs with bases empty, the Mets have hit 35 home runs and only 10 with anybody on base. And there's Keith Hernandez, Lee Mazzilli. Kevin McReynolds with a 7-game hitting streak. Strike. McReynolds for a month now hitting over 300. That's been the story of the Mets. They got off to a very poor start, but they have pretty well put it in gear since the middle of April. They moved out of 6th place, and right now they're a game and a half in front of the Cubs.
And they're doing it with their pitching, Vinny. Nothing else. Their pitching has just been outstanding.
High pop fly back at third. Oberkfell right alongside and about 4 or 5 rows in.
No, this is a ball club in first place in their division. The Mets, of course, in the National League East. They're hitting only .232 as a team. It's 23rd best batting average in the major leagues. Only the Brewers, Pirates, and the Dodgers are hitting worse than these guys, but they're pitching there in every game. A lot of one-run games, a lot of games that are winning in their last at-bat, and their pitching is keeping them close.
They have really had a stretch of exciting baseball. So have the Giants. That's another fly ball that will hook foul and go back into the crowd. In the last 7 games that involve the Mets, and 6 of them in this homestand, the last 7 games have been decided in the final at-bat, and 4 have gone into extra innings. Meanwhile, the Giants have lost 4 games on the road, some of the toughest losses you ever saw, including last night, giving the Mets 4 walks with 2 out in the 10th inning. Going back to get it, and he can't get it, is Butler. And into second base is Kevin McReynolds. He is now hit in 8 straight.
Odd that we have one player that was traded for another player, and they're both playing the same position today. McReynolds and Mitchell for the Giants. McReynolds has outstanding power to all fields and go with a pitch. That pitch up and out over the plate. A high fastball hitter, and that is a long way, 410 to center field here at Shea Stadium.
So McReynolds at second with 1 away, and Dave Magadan, who has a golden opportunity to establish some credentials at first base in the absence of Keith Hernandez. Magadan has been on an extra base tear the last couple of games. He had a triple and a home run against the Dodgers, and he had a double and a couple of singles against the Giants. So in his last 2 games, he's hit for the cycle. 1 ball and no strikes to Dave Magadan. That's at the knees, 1-1. Magadan, until this year, his biggest mark was how well he did against left-hand pitching. He had a career .328 batting average against left-handers. This year, however, he is 0 for 10 against left-handers. And he's looking at right-hander Krukow. 1 out. Chopper to the right side. Robbie Thompson without an error this year. He and Willie Randolph of the Dodgers playing every inning at second base without an error. McReynolds advancing to third, and Barry Lyons will be coming up. When we look at Barry Lyons, I got to tell this story. When Tom Seaver was trying to make a comeback.
You wouldn't tell that story.
You want to tell it about?
No, you go
about Barry Lyons wore you out as you were trying to make your comeback, and then after the game you said, "That's it. I'm not going to make the ball club, and I'm going to call it a career." And then one of the writers said to you, "Well, who's the toughest hitter you ever faced?" And you said, "Barry Lyons."
I was throwing batting practice. I couldn't get the ball by him. I thought it was a good line at the time.
It is. Yes, he had a 5-game streak snap last night. Breaking ball, and he drives it to left. Back goes Mitchell to the track. He's got it. No run, a double and a man left at third, and at the end of 2, no score. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station.
By Kingsford, just light the bag. And by First Brands Corporation, makers of new Simonized non-abrasive car wax.
We're going to third inning. The Mets with Gary Carter and Keith Hernandez on the disabled list. But the Giants have also been victimized by injuries. And we'll tell you about that after Mike Krukow checks in and hits a fly ball to Strawberry in right field. Mike's a good hitter. One down. The Giants this year have had 6 players on the DL, and there are 4 on it right now. Carl Best, Kelly Downs, Dave Dravecki, and Chris Spire, who just went on it. Spire for a strained lower back. So Roger Craig has had to switch and move and counter. He leads the National League in pitching moves. He has gone to the bullpen now 82 times. And it's very early to have gone 82. Brett Butler single to left in the first inning. Ojeda has gotten 1 ground ball out. Now that's 7 fly balls. 1 hit very hard. And Dykstra made a good play. 1-0. Ball 2. Of course, with the Giants, and they are right there in the sense a game and a half back. In 1987, when they won the division championship, you remember the trades with Mitchell and Lefferts, Dravecki, and Russell. And off they went to meet the Cardinals. So there could still be another move in the wind to get them going.
And Russell, the only guy on their pitching staff last year that did not miss a turn, too.
The bunt by Butler, foul. Up to his old tricks. 2-1, the count to Brett Butler. Can you imagine being dealt away from Atlanta with a name like Brett Butler?
Terra, leaving Terra behind.
I know, it's close enough to keep him.
Butler had 20 bunt base hits last year. Very accomplished bunter. Or Phil Rizzuto would love him, wouldn't he? Scooter loves those people that can bunt.
2-1 the count to Brett. That's in there for a strike. Brett Butler, Brooke Jacoby dealt away from Atlanta. Len Barker came over in a deal involved as much money as Fort Knox and never could quite go with a bad arm. Ball 3.
Ojeda normally walks 1.5 per 9 innings. At least he did last year. You see Montreal behind the Dodgers 2-1 in the bottom of the 8th. This season, his base on ball average has been almost 4.5. Control is the biggest thing that has been bothering him, making the comeback from the accident that almost took the middle finger of his left hand off.
Fouled away. We were talking earlier. I was talking with Eddie Lopat and Jack Lang and Gene Michael, the stick. And we were talking about pitchers suddenly losing control. And we went back to Rex Barney with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and then Steve Blass with Pittsburgh. Even catchers have had trouble. Suddenly they can't throw the ball back to the pitcher. Jim Pagliarone was famous for that. But there have been a lot of them. Bruce Ruffin of the Phillies is now in the minor leagues because he's having trouble throwing strikes. 3-2 the count to Butler. Half swing, got him. Question to you, in your illustrious career, when you won over 300 games, did you ever hit a spell where you couldn't throw strikes?
I think every pitcher goes through that. And what a pitcher has to do, you can see Ojeda, who also not only are his base on balls are up, but he's averaging 2 less strikeouts per 9 innings than he did last year. Gets Butler to chase that high fastball. But you go through spells when you just can't get the ball over the plate. And basically what I used to try and tell all the young pitchers that would come along, go back to the very basic steps of what pitching is all about. Throw strikes and throw low strikes. Don't try to do anything else. Don't try to be cute. Don't try to be too fancy. Just the very basics of pitching, whether you're pitching in the major leagues or AAA or Babe Ruth or high school or whatever, is throwing strikes and throwing low strikes. And that's how you build a foundation to build upon and become a more creative pitcher.
Ball 2, 2-1. We were also talking about a fellow like Kevin Saucier, who got it into his head that he was going to hit somebody and kill them or hurt them seriously, and he couldn't throw strikes.
That's the mental aspect of it, too. That's all part of it, Vinny. And Steve Blass is a name that you mentioned before, and that was incredible. He just couldn't do anything with the baseball.
Foul ball, and it will go into the crowd. And the count 2-2.
Steve Blass, I pitched against him here one day, years ago, when he was having trouble throwing the ball. And I was up to the plate with the bases loaded, and the count got to 3-2. And this is when he was trying to make a comeback. And his problems were nothing physical. He was fine physical, unlike Ojeda. I mean, there was nothing physical. It was all mental problems. Just couldn't throw strikes. Here it was, 3-2, Shea Stadium, full packed house, pitcher up, and I said, he won't be able to get close this time.
What did he do?
Yeah, I almost took my head off. And if I hadn't been bailing out toward third base, I mean, he missed the strike zone by 6 feet for ball 4, forced a run in. And unfortunately, just, you know, that just literally just ended his career.
2-2, the count to Robbie Thompson, making Ojeda work. 2 out in the third, no score. Got him. So Ojeda now, who's high in strikeouts, has been 4 this year, has picked up his second, and at the end of 2.5, no score. To play catch and loosen up Kevin Mitchell, and it's appropriate to see, Goose, after we've been talking about base on balls and losing your control. Now in the bottom of the third, it's Elster, Ojeda, and Dykstra, 1 ball and no strike. Gossage last night did something that even former teammates couldn't believe when he came in and walked 2 in a row, including the game-winning walk for the Mets. Coming over to try to get there is Mitchell, tries to backhand it, and he's going to call the hitter out. The fan knocked the ball away from Mitchell, and the third base umpire, Jim Quick, has said that Elster is out. So Kevin Mitchell will get a putout, and we'll see whether the fan gets a putout. In a lot of ballparks, the fan would be dispatched. As you can see, the fan was leaning over the railing, so he was actually interfering with a ball that was in play. Why anyone would want to interfere with Kevin Mitchell is beyond me.
That ball just blew back into the playing field. It was in the seats for a while, and that wind playing tricks with it and blew it back into play.
Ojeda fouls it away on the count 0-1. No score, bottom of the third inning. Ojeda with Len Dykstra hitting back of him. No runs, 2 hits for the Giants. No runs, 1 hit for the Mets. To put the game in the proper perspective, the Giants began the day a game and a half behind Cincinnati. The Reds are home with the Cubs tonight. The Mets are a game and a half in front of Chicago and 2.5 in front of St. Louis. St. Louis in Atlanta tonight, and there's a hopper behind second, base hit for Ojeda.
The Met pitching staff, really a staff of very good hitters. Whether you would consider Ojeda the best of the group, I am not sure, but I would say no. I'm trying to be as kind as I possibly can. But Gooden is a good hitter. Roger McDowell is a good hitter. This is a staff that takes Ron Darling as an outstanding hitter, and a staff that takes a lot of pride in their hitting, and they've helped themselves not only with their bunting, but their hitting as well as a staff.
Well, let's see what Len Dykstra does now. He grounded out to Will Clark in the first inning. Ball 1, 1-0. Did you like to hit? Did you like to go up to the plate and hit?
You know, when I got traded to the American League and had the DH, you know the thing I missed most? Batting practice. Batting practice was fun.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like those guys throwing those sinkers in at my hands, and you feel like you have a handful of nails and tacks, and then you had to go out and try and pitch.
1 ball, no strikes, and that's a jammer, and a little foul off to the left, and Manwaring is there to put it away, and that takes care of Dykstra. Let's get an update on what's going on in the world of sports. We'll go to Gail Gardner.
Thank you, Vin. The Pirates' injury woes continue in Houston. The second inning, Doug Drabeck, a line shot to center off Bob Forsch. Bobby Bonilla scores. Gerald Young's throw home. Plenty of time to get to Sid Bream. Now, Bream pulls up lane. He's just off the DL. He is apparently re-injured that right knee, but they don't think it's serious. Bucks up 1-0. Let's go back to Vin and Tom.
Okay, Gail, thanks for the update, and we certainly hope that Sid Bream is all right. 1 visit to the DL is more than enough for any player. Tim Tuffle, ball 1, 1-0. Pittsburgh playing in Houston on the AstroTurf. And I guess AstroTurf would have to be a place for leg, knee, and ankle injuries. And sore backs.
And sore backs. You're talking about Chris Bauer going back on the DL. First thing that comes into my mind. Artificial surface. Hard. that hard pounding over the years. I was talking to Jerry Grody about that. Very same thing here. We had old timers day before this game. We're talking about how tough it is. Artificial surface, the pounding all the time. And Lou Brock was talking about it yesterday. Lou Brock made an brought up an interesting point yesterday about how running on AstroTurf is so beneficial for stealing bases. As opposed, remember we had a game where it was all wet out by first base, and now on the AstroTurf it's much easier to run.
Right. Quick start.
Very quick start. You get out there and you have the same. They have that real good traction every time. There's no slipping, no sliding.
But you pay a price. You know, the fielders love it because you don't usually get bad hops. The hitters like it because the ball is live, but the bill is always presented.
And the defense can play deeper as well.
No score in the third. 2 down.
That was a DC-9.
Thanks.
After a while, you get where you can know them, too. I mean, so you know the difference between 727 and a DC-9 and different engine sounds.
So that does it for Tim Tuffle. He goes down swinging. No runs. 1 hit. A man left. And at the end of 3, no score.
All the action this season with the
Eating in the deep water now. Ball 1. Clark hit the first pitch in the first inning and flied to left. He's hitting .375 this year against left-handers. Truly an outstanding hitter. And it brings up a possibilities, especially since the 20th anniversary of the '69 Mets is observed today. In 1989, it's conceivable that the battle for the most valuable player award would be between Dwight Gooden of the Mets and Will Clark of the San Francisco Giants. Maybe. The point being that 20 years ago, the first baseman of the Giants by the name of Willie McCovey beat a pitcher from the New York Mets by the name of Tom Seaver by 22 votes. Although Tom did win not only 26 games that year, but he was the Cy Young winner. 1-1. Ball 2.
Was he here today?
Tom Seaver.
He got a no decision in the old timers game.
Worked 2/3 of an inning.
Pitched well, but didn't get any runs.
That's right.
And Orlando Cepeda almost took my head off.
And that's what I was worried about. 2-1 to Clark. Ball 3. 3-1.
One of the things I noticed about Ojeda, we talked about how his control was so good, and was so good before he was hurt. He throws a lot of pitches, it seems to me, that really miss the strike zone, and that are really a long ways away from the hitting zone. And that's very unlike him. He usually is around there. You can draw a little U shape as you're looking at the strike zone, and you can see a little a U, if you would, or a bucket, and he would be inside of that bucket. A little bit off the plate, a little bit on the plate, or whatever. But he seems to me to throw a lot of places that really miss.
3-2 to Clark. Now back. Clark has walked 22 times. So you have a fella struggling a little bit with his control, certainly compared to last year, against a hitter who gets walks. Interestingly enough, Clark has not gotten as many intentional walks, however, as Kevin McReynolds. 3-2. And he got a hold of that one. A high drive into deep right field, and that one is gone in the Mets bullpen. Will Clark hits his 7th home run, 30 RBIs, and the Giants lead 1-0. Oh, what a hitter this guy is.
I've seen him for 2 days. I saw him last night and today here. I have not seen him take a bad swing yet. He has a good, aggressive swing. And I looked at him last night and I said, boy, you might be able to get him upstairs. Now, certainly Bobby Ojeda is not Herb Scorer. The man does not have an overpowering fastball. But it looks like the place you might be able to pitch him is upstairs. He went right up on top of that ball and hit it out of here. And that ball was up about shoulder high.
We'll take another look at this wonderful swing, because that's the only way to describe it. It is a textbook swing. The big kid out of New Orleans, Louisiana, who went to school and was a high school All-American in New Orleans. Went on to Mississippi State. And when everyone saw him at Mississippi State, they all said the same thing. He's a franchise hitter. Will Clark. 1-0 Giants. Off speed to Mitchell. Interesting, we were talking before about how the Mets are having trouble hitting home runs with men on base. So are the Giants now. Their last 8 home runs have been with the bases empty. He's hit 75 home runs in 2 years before this year. I mean, he's going to hit a ton.
Yeah, he is amazing.
Ball 3.
One thing these two clubs have in common is they're both basically first ball, fastball hitting clubs. The way to pitch him is kind of the way Ojeda pitches. Dead fish, a little turn over the fastball, a little slow curve, a little of this, and it's the same way Krukov pitches. A little sinker, a change up, a flop pitch, and whatever. And that's really how to attack both of these ball clubs.
And there's a drive to right. Strawberry has to go back on that, and this baby's got a chance and goes out. So Mitchell, who is so strong, goes the other way and clears the wall at about the 370 sign. So back-to-back home runs by Clark and Mitchell, and the Giants lead 2-0. That means 9 home runs in a row have been with the bases empty for San Francisco. And for Mitchell, the league leader, 13 home runs, 41 RBI. For Ojeda, he had allowed 2 home runs in 39 previous innings, and he allows 2 in this inning. And the batter now, Candy Maldonado. High on the Mets staff, Ron Darling has given up 7. 0-1.
Getting back to control, how important it is, Vinny. Not only just where it is in the strike zone, but pitching ahead in the count. Clark hit a 3-2 pitch. Hitter definitely has the advantage at 3-2. And Mitchell just hit a 3-1 pitch. Anytime you let those hitters hit when they're ahead in the count. One of the amazing statistics I read, doing some work on the San Francisco Giants, Will Clark, when he had a 3-1 count last year, hit .565.
Give a great hitter a sizable advantage, and he becomes almost unbeatable.
Unbeatable. Just kill you every time.
Ball 2, 2-1. And of course, you can see Ojeda. He doesn't want to walk Clark because then he's going to get Mitchell. Then he's pitching very carefully to Mitchell, 3-1, trying to keep the ball away from him, and Mitchell is so strong, he takes you deep the other way. 2-1 to Maldonado. Whacked foul. I'll say one thing, he had a rip on a 2-1 pitch. We've talked before about so many hitters having bad hacks when the count was in their favor, but not this one. I mean, he scalded it.
Well, we have seen 3 in a row. 3-2 count, 3-1 count, and now a 2-1 count. I mean, he turned on that ball. Candy doesn't stride and have the body movement that Clark has. He more or less spins like he's in a barrel. Has tremendous bat speed that way.
Rick Aguilera begins to throw in the Mets bullpen.
I'll tell you, when Maldonado came along, I thought he was going to be a fixture with the Dodgers. I really did.
There was one surprise about Maldonado, and I think really it slowed him up. He is one of the few Latin players I ever saw who does not run well. And the Dodgers were always going after speed. Look at this shot. Dykstra at the 4-10 sign. Woo. So Ojeda was throwing a lot of fly balls in the first 3 innings, and all of a sudden even Grand Canyon isn't quite big enough. And Dykstra into the paint, and Mel Stottlemyre's gone out. Now Stottlemyre has to come up with a quick fix immediately.
He might be going out to say, do something before you get everybody killed. You know, you don't know if it's mental, you don't know if it's physical. Maybe Mel has seen something. And pardon me for laughing, but sometimes that will happen. Sometimes that will happen. A pitching coach will come out if he thinks a pitcher is too tight. If he thinks a pitcher is squeezing the ball or is nervous, he'll come out and say, listen, try to do something else. You're going to get some of our players hurt in order to relax the pitcher.
Did you ever give up consecutive home runs?
I don't see.
You don't remember?
I mean, I pitched 20 years. There had to be a point somewhere. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of it.
No, okay. All right, Stott back into the dugout. Clark homers, Mitchell homers, and Maldonado puts paint all over Dykstra. 1 out. And Ken Oberkfell coming up. Oberkfell is certainly not a home run hitter. It was an interesting trade. It shows you about the shortage of talent in Major League Baseball. The Giants made a trade with Pittsburgh. They wanted Ken Oberkfell. He was hitting 181 at the time of the trade. And the Pirates got Roger Samuels, and Roger Samuels had a record of 1-5 in AAA. And that was the deal. Oberkfell for Samuels. You think they're a little short in playing talent?
Sounds like things are a little bit short. You hear some of the scouts, you hear some of the general managers talking about talent is thin, talent is short, talent is going to basketball, talent is going to football, talent is going other places. You know, you talk to somebody like Yogi, and there's a lot of wisdom in there. You talked to Yogi last week, and he said it runs in cycles. It just runs in cycles.
0-1 to Kurt Manwaring. 2-0 in favor of San Francisco, top of the 4th inning. Home runs by Clark and Mitchell. And Bob Ojeda trying to right the ship. Fly ball to left field. It's playable. McReynolds is there. And that's it. 2 runs on 2 swings of the bat. Nobody left. And at the end of 3.5 innings, as Mitchell and Clark prepare to go back to work, it's 2-0 San Francisco. After giving up those 2 home runs by Clark and Mitchell, Johnson, Strawberry, and McReynolds in that order. Hojo flied to right. 0 for 1. There's a hot one just foul, and down the line 0-1. You know, there might be extra pressure when you pitch for the Mets. Not only are they loaded for pitching, but there are some great young arms. That's the strength of the Mets organization. And we asked Bobby Ojeda, when you go out to the mound, is there extra pressure on you?
And that goes with the turf here. They have so much depth all through their system, and no matter where you play, though, if you watch the people behind you, you're going to get in trouble. And I always try to just concentrate on what I have to do on the mound, and if it's a good day on the mound, it's a good day. If it's a bad day, it's a bad day. And I'm not so worried about people who are coming up behind me. I just feel fortunate to be where I'm at today.
Ground foul outside of first, down the line, 0-2. And among those, of course, behind him in the minor leagues would be David West, who's 5-3. The Tidewater.
One of the things that the Met organization is going to be doing here, now with Gary Carter on the DL and Keith Hernandez out, is finding out if Dave Madigan can play, if their catching situation is enough to fill in for Carter. Mackie Sasser, can he play? Can Barry Lyons play? And they do have the pitchers in the wings. This is a team that a lot of people think is the best team in baseball, but it is still a team in transition. They have these youngsters. That's right. Dave Madigan right there coming along. Is it time for him to play? And that's a decision the Mets are going to have to come up with, because Keith Hernandez in the last year of his contract.
Fly ball to Maldonado.
As Gary Carter is, Vinny. There's 2 guys making a lot of money, 2 veterans, 2 real pros. Will they be back here? I think that's one of the things in the next 2 months that this organization is going to be looking for an answer.
There was an article in the paper recently where they were saying, wait a minute, there's an awful lot written, an awful lot said about Mark Langston. But the Mets really need somebody to hit, and especially with the older players like Carter and Hernandez. So maybe they're rethinking, reassessing the situation here. Now back, 0-1.
And their pitching staff, relatively young pitching staff. They're going to be here for a while and very deep. Frank Cashin has said that they not only have David West at AAA, he thinks that they have outstanding pitching at the AA, A-ball, and rookie league level all the way along the line. He thinks that Met pitching through their system is enough to keep this organization going for a long time. With that strength, they have the trading possibilities.
0-2. Just missed. Pretty good pitch. And of course, that's why Darryl Strawberry and Kevin McReynolds mean so much to the ball club, along with Howard Johnson, because they provide the sock. Bring up to date on a few other ball games in the National League. The Dodgers, with Oral Hershiser, had Tim Raines hit a home run in the bottom of the 9th to tie it up 2-2. Ground foul. Pittsburgh, Houston 1-1. Top of the 4th inning. And over in the American League, there's one game underway. Boston at Oakland, and they have a 1-1 tie in the 1st inning. Mentioning the American League and talking about Chris Brown, as I did a little while ago, reminds us we all want to send along our best wishes to manager of the Detroit Tigers, Sparky Anderson, who was sent home to his lovely wife, Carol, who will take good care of him, and he was just worn out, exhausted. So he's back home, the Squire of Thousand Oaks, taking things easy. And I'll tell you one thing I think about Sparky. Sparky outwardly has the philosophy, I'm at that age in life where I can handle defeat. I don't think so.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Absolutely.
Got him. Fastball on the inside corner. And Strawberry caught looking. That is really challenging a hitter to dare to come in there to him.
All right, we talked about him. Krukow pitching inside. One place you do not want to pitch Strawberry is out over the plate. Let him extend those big arms, and that's right on the inside corner. He pitched him extremely well there. Different philosophies how to pitch. Krukow pitched him hard in, soft away. Not too much worried about up and down. Hard in, soft away.
Drive into the left field corner by Kevin McReynolds. Hooking foul. Foul ball. So McReynolds, who doubled in the second inning to extend his hitting streak to 8, will have to come back and try it again. Foul by this much.
McReynolds got a fastball up and out over the plate for the double that he hit the first time up, and that was a fastball looked like in the middle part of the plate, up about chest high again. There should be a reminder coming from Manwaring or somebody in the back of Krukow's mind saying, let's get the ball down a little bit. Kevin, a good high fastball hitter.
No balls and 1 strike. And he popped that one up around the plate. Manwaring go out. Krukow better direct traffic, and it's the third baseman at the last minute, Ken Oberkfell. Well, we'll be right back after these messages from your local station. It's 2-0 San Francisco. 2 balls and 1 strike to count to Jose Uribe. The Giants, on back-to-back lightning bolts by Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell, are leading Bobby Ojeda and the Mets 2-0. Uribe has made just 1 error in his last 35 games, gone 22 straight without an error. Robbie Thompson has not committed an error this year. You have the record shortstop, Kevin Elster and Tim Tuffle, so we have some slick bills out there with the leather. Right, too. The Giants not only leading the league in fewest errors, but also most double plays turned. Thompson and Uribe have been with San Francisco for 4 years. Sean Dunston and Ryan Sandberg 4, and the granddaddy duo, so to speak, Alan Trammell along with Lou Whitaker, Detroit. 1 down. We have a moment we'd like to remind you, tomorrow don't miss the final round coverage of the LPGA's most prestigious event, the Mazda LPGA Championship. Here's the leaderboard. Okamoto, Sheehan, Lopez, and King. And I wonder if Ray Knight, the former Met, is lugging the bag for Nancy.
He's packing that bag today.
Mike Krukow's a pretty good hitter. He flied to right field in the 3rd inning and almost acted as if he hurt himself on that swing, but apparently he's okay. Krukow has 5 home runs in his major league career. The last home run was in June of last year. He ripped one against Eric Shao. 5 home runs, that's a lot. Did you ever hit a home run?
Only about 12 or something.
Really?
I was waiting. You knew to ask me that one. I had more than my roommate, Buddy Harrelson, and that still galls him to this day.
Let's take a look at a swing that would not produce a home run because the pitch was way outside. It looks good there, but then
all of a sudden it starts to fall apart, doesn't it? Looks like my golf swing. As soon as I start down toward the ball, it falls apart.
Crumbles at the edges. So it's still 2-0 Giants. We're in the 5th inning. And Brett Butler, the batter. Butler single to left, struck out, threat to bunt, so Johnson has to play him on the grass. Taken all the way.
Odd that the Giants have the number 1, number 2 guys for base on balls. in the National League. Will Clark and Butler.
Boy, that's nice for Mitchell and Maldonado to have those people on base all the time. 0-1. It's interesting when you compare home runs and RBIs, you get a point immediately. Darryl Strawberry has 10 home runs, but only 17 RBIs. So that means he's only been able to drive in a teammate 7 times. They're just not on the table for him.
And did it last night with a bases loaded walk on 4 pitches.
1 and 2.
He had a home run last night. I mean to tell you, it was a rocket out of this place.
He
got
hit
a
one on
fastball.
second deck the other night.
I mean, it was a rocket that he hit out here. A fastball out over the plate. He extend those arms, and I'm telling you, if the outfielder got in front of it, he'd been killed.
Ground ball wide of first, fielded there by Magadan. And just in time, Bobby Ojeda getting over there because Butler flies down the line. And at the end of 4.5, 2-0 San Francisco. Hernandez was talking to Tom before the game, and he said, from what I've read in the papers, they'll play better this year without me than last. And this is probably what he read. I don't think we need to use Keith's absence as a crutch like we did last year. Hernandez out in his own reckoning till August. So here's Magadan. The reason we say Hernandez figures to be out till August is his quote where he said, when I fractured my kneecap, it is the same leg where the hamstring twice went out on me last year, and I know lack of exercise to immobilize the knee will make the hamstring atrophy, so I'll need longer before I can come back. And that sounds reasonable unless you're an orthopedic surgeon who could disagree with him.
Well, I talked to Dr. Jim Parks, who is the orthopedic surgeon for the New York Mets yesterday. The fracture that he does have is like a horizontal fracture. It's not like, let's say, a broken window pane glass that would shatter all the way around. It's just one straight line.
Ground ball to Uribe at the bag.
And Dr. Parks has said he has already put Keith on exercises, some leg exercises to keep the muscles toned around that area, around the patella area, around the kneecap. He's already started him on the rehab, trying to get away from exactly what you're talking about, having the trouble when he does get out of the cast. And I asked Dr. Parks, I said, is it really going to be 6-8 weeks? He says, probably will be somewhere 6 to 8 weeks. He said, it is not a bad fracture, but it will take time for it to knit and heal.
Barry Lyons at the plate, kind of out in front on that pitch, and the count 0-1. Interesting, there are always rumors, I guess because society loves to feed on rumors. I told this last year when I was just a kid growing up in New York, slotting mail in the post office during the war, and I created a rumor, and everybody went for it because they wanted to hear it, and that was that Hitler was dead. And I mean, people really believed it. Well, the night that Hernandez hurt his knee in what appeared to be really a harmless collision, it didn't look like anything serious. Base hit for Barry Lyons to left field. The next night, early, 4 o'clock in the ballpark, you know the big rumor? The big rumor was that Keith Hernandez has a fractured kneecap because he was hit by a bat thrown by Howard Johnson. It's amazing how rumors come out of nowhere.
I heard it that night.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I heard that night on the radio. And it really stems from what happened after Keith, when Keith came out of the game and he walked down the dugout. We were very upset about being hurt because he had just started to swing the bat extremely well. And Howard Johnson, very close to Keith, got up and said, how are you, off from the bench? And Keith was just upset. He said, you know, I hurt my leg, and he's upset about it.
People thought he was apologizing.
Well, people read that he was upset with Howard Johnson.
Kevin Elster looking for a sign now with 1 out. Barry Lyons at first, not Fleetfoot. 2-0 Giants in the 5th inning. And with Ojeda on deck and a very good bullpen, Davy Johnson could be thinking hitter. Down and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. And Lee Mazzilli now comes out on deck. So he's not only thinking hitter, he's going to employ one. So Lee Mazzilli is on deck to get a call to bat for Ojeda. Rick Aguilera continues to throw in the bullpen. 2-0 San Francisco in the 5th. And the Mets now trying to get something started. Foul back out of play. He worked him up around the letters with a fastball, and he hit under it. 1-2. It was interesting about Kevin Elster. You know, he set the record for consecutive errorless games. And during that record, he was being interviewed about your glove, and he said, oh, I use anybody's glove. As long as it's not an outfielder's glove, I'll use anybody's glove. Then when he set the record, the next story I read was he was furious because the glove manufacturer didn't give him a contract, so he tore the label off the glove. So it's kind of a conflict. I'll use anybody's glove, but 1-2 to Kevin Elster. Fastball sliced into right. Maldonado digging. Great catch, and back to first base goes Lyon. Maldonado, who does not run that well, had to truly let out to get to that one. And it's a big play. And now, since he made it, Ojeda will bat for himself.
A good play by Maldonado in right field. It's difficult coming in, too, because he's looking up toward where the sun comes over at the top of the stadium here. Not known for his defensive prowess. That's good concentration, staying with the ball as he was coming in.
Interesting now. Maldonado should get a letter of commendation from Bobby Ojeda, because if Maldonado doesn't make the catch, Ojeda's gone, goes out losing. Mazzilli bats for him, but Maldonado makes the catch. Ojeda stays in the game and has a shot at a win. 0-1. 2 runs, 4 hits, but the runs came on home runs. Will Clark and Kevin Mitchell in the 4th inning. Bobby singled in the 3rd. He likes to be called Bobby, by the way. We're not being cute. He said, yeah, I like to be called Bobby. It makes me sound younger. He's at that age in his career. 1 ball, no strikes.
The owner of a 300-acre peach farm out of Visalia, California now.
Yeah. Two balls and no strikes.
He took a lot of criticism saying, well, how could you be fooling around with hedge clippers or whatever when he did get hurt? And you know, ball players, they expect an athlete or whatever to sit inside and sit in a chair and not be active. You know, you drive yourself mentally crazy too. I mean, there is life as a human being.
Chopper up along first base, foul, and the count 2-1.
He said, what are they expecting you to do? Go and live in a vacuum? I can't do that. You drive yourself nuts. You just have to try and be as careful about certain things. Chainsaws, etc. I used to split all my own wood. I still do at home. I live out in Connecticut. I work with chainsaws. I work with log splitters or whatever. I'm very aware of it, but there's certain things that are part of everybody's psyche that you just have to be extra special careful as an athlete.
Fastball slapped into left center. Butler along with Mitchell, and it's Mitchell to pick it off. No runs, 1 hit. Candy Maldonado changed the entire inning and the game around, and it's 2-0 Giants. On NBC Sports World, boxing at its best, Nigel the Dark Destroyer Benn defends his title against Michael the Force Watson. Love it. Gotta love it. Robbie Thompson, Will Clark, and Kevin Mitchell.
I wonder if they gave those nicknames of pitchers and stuff for a game.
Yeah, like wrestlers, you know, when you talk about who's going to pitch.
Bobby the Beast Ojeda.
0-1. Giants leading 2-0. We're in the top of the 6th inning. Big overhand pitcher, just kind of rainbowed low. Ball 2, 2-1. Came back with the express. Ball 3, 3-1. Roy Campanella always called the fastball the express, and you really understood the feeling, standing on the platform waiting for the local and watching the express go by. Another express. 3-2.
A lot of nicknames for fastballs and pitchers. There's the local subway here out in Flushing, New York, the Flushing line.
Give me some names. Smoke.
Oh, the Smoke, the Heater, Dead Red. And they change, and they go out and they come back, and they go out and they come back. They come in vogue and they go out of vogue. Some Cheese and I mean, you can name it.
Let's see Gail Gardner and find out over in New York.
First place clubs, the A's and the Red Sox. Bottom of the first, the A's come up with 3 runs. One coming on this Carney Lansford single to left off Wes Gardner, scoring Dave Parker from second. As Parker comes in, Terry Steinbach, meanwhile, caught at third base. The A's lead the Red Sox now 4-1 in the second. Back to Vin and Tom.
Will Clark at the plate. Well, to have Oakland playing well at home is certainly no upset. If the A's win today, they will have a record of having won 18 of their 25 home games. Well, you go up there, you're in trouble.
Tony La Russa doing a great job with that ball club without his big bopper in right field, Jose Canseco. He has proven that he has put together a very solid ball club in Oakland.
That's sliced inside out down the line and out of play on the count 1 ball and 1 strike to Will Clark.
Well, this guy just does not have a half swing in his book.
Earlier this year, we saw him have a big day at the plate. In fact, you're talking about he never takes a bad swing. He certainly didn't take a bad swing that day. He went 5 for 5 in Los Angeles. And I mean, he hit every ball on the screws. And he drills that one, and here comes Lenny, and it's off his glove, pushed over towards Strawberry. Clark is going into second base, and stopping at third is Robbie Thompson. And Dykstra acts like a man who felt he should have caught it.
I think Lenny thought he had the ball. Either taking the last step off of his heel, which will jar your head, and the ball will start bouncing around, but it looked like it came off his glove or actually off of his chest. We'll have to take a look at it. Yes, off the bottom of his glove, and I think he thought he had the ball when he went after it. Playing Will Clark all the way around in left center, oddly enough. Respecting his power the other way, he was playing very deep in left center for the left-handed hitting Clark.
They will now walk Kevin Mitchell intentionally. And Bobby Ojeda is in a lot of trouble. The base is loaded, nobody out. Maldonado, Oberkfell, and Manwaring coming up.
And you wonder if we're going to see Aguilera after this, too.
Well, Mitchell gets the intentional walk, and believe me, it's not a big story, but it is unusual that Davy Johnson gave up an intentional walk the other night against the Dodgers. Now he gives up an intentional walk today, and you say, well, that's a big deal. It is a big deal. I mean, Davy Johnson would give up an intentional walk as easily as he would give up a tattoo. And he has given up 2 to now, that's 9 all year. For the last 3 years, no one gave up intentional walks more grudgingly than Davy Johnson. So it is the situation, but more importantly, it's a tribute to Kevin Mitchell, just as it was the other night when he intentionally walked Eddie Murray. So bases loaded, nobody out, and Bobby Ojeda has come to the end of his role in the 6th. And we'll be back right after this. Look at this week's American and National League leaders in the standings for the Rolaids Relief Man Awards. And Dennis Eckersley and Mark Davis so far well out in front. We'll be tracking total points awarded on the basis of wins, losses, saves, and blown saves. For the New York Mets, their bullpen has been a mainstay. The pen has saved 13 in 14 chances. The ERA in the bullpen is 1.3, and Aguilera has been pitching very well. The bullpen has not allowed a home run in over 95 innings. And Aguilera, who was wild the other night and walked in a game winner, now faces quite a challenge. Bases loaded, nobody out, and Candy Maldonado at the plate. In case you wonder about Maldonado, in his career in the big leagues, he has hit 3 Grand Slam home runs, most recently in 1987. A lot of heat on the pitcher, and the good hitters really fatten up. So Thompson, Clark, and Mitchell out on the lines. Nobody out. Fastball. Strike.
We talk about many that the depth of this New York Met pitching staff and organization. A lot of people think that Rick Aguilera Maybe pitching every day for another ball club. Definitely true. He has an outstanding arm, good fastball, good pop on his fastball, and a good breaking ball as well.
High fly ball into shallow center. Dykstra really has to come as the run is tagged. Now he's got some impetus to get the throw up, and the runners have to hold. When the ball went up, it looked like Elster might handle it, but then it carried, and Dykstra really shifted into high gear, and catching it on the dead run, that added a little muscle to the throw.
Dykstra plays a very deep center field and has to come a long way for this ball. Just an average throwing arm for an outfielder, but he will cover a lot of ground because he gets an outstanding jump on the ball and very good speed.
1 out, and Ken Oberkfell, a contact hitter, coming up. Oberkfell has grounded out twice, lost a hit on a good play by Howard Johnson. Takes ball 1. For Oberkfell, he has always had one problem. That's a reputation of not being a guy who can pick up a lot of RBIs. He was traded by the Cardinals because he hit .290 but had only 38 RBIs. And he's up there now at the count 1 ball 1 strike. Ken's been playing in the big leagues since 1977, originally signed by the Cardinals. Rick Aguilera with 1 out, bases loaded, trying to get Oberkfell.
Thompson very aggressive coming up in third base, and the situation here for Mitchell at first base is to, if the ball is hit on the ground in the infield, get down there and break up the double play.
Two to nothing in favor of the Giants. All 3. Aguilera now faced with the pressure of the other night. Oberkfell does not strike out. He's a pretty good judge, so let's see if Craig gives him the green light. Yep, and he drives it. Dykstra is going to run it down. This time, however, Thompson will tag and score. Over to third goes Clark. Holding at first is Mitchell, and it's 3-0 San Francisco. So Oberkfell picked up his RBI.
Good bit of managing, letting your hitter hit when he's ahead in the count. I've always agreed with that. As long as you give the hitter an advantage, if he gets the situation advantage, it's funny. All the time hitter goes up to the plate. You always want him to wait and get ahead in the count, get that 2-0, get that 3-1 situation, and all of a sudden the bases get loaded like this, and the manager will boop, put the hit on. Actually take the bat right out of the hitter's hands.
One thing that helped Oberkfell is the fact that he has a short stroke. Contact hitter is not going to swing at a ball out of the strike zone, as we see Terry Kennedy coming up now to hit for Kurt Manwaring. Kennedy has always hit well, and he's been around a while. He has always done a lot of damage to the Mets. So Kennedy can hit and then stay in the game. He's hit 8 home runs, and he has 47 RBIs in his career against the Mets. And although Terry has never been that much of an average hitter, his lifetime average against New York is .290.
Got a great reputation of being a 2-base hitter. A lot of doubles. You go back to 1982 when he was with the Padres, he had 42 doubles. Seemed like every time you read the box score, you look under there and it said 2B, and you see Kennedy's name at least once.
Duck in a final, the Dodgers losing a 2-1 game when Raines hit a home run to tie it, came back to get the victory. Hershiser are the winner with a save for Jay Howell. Pascual Perez, the loser, is 0-7. Hit foul off third, and that one is back into the seats, out of play.
Funny numbers this year, Vinny. You look at that. Some of the starting pitchers, Viola having trouble. Perez 0-7.
Jack Morris had a lot of problems.
And then remember all the shutouts we had day after day after day. Was had a shutout. All the low run scoring games.
29 days with a shutout.
Amazing things from a number standpoint happening this year.
2-1. There is definitely a sizable fall off from 1987 where maybe the ball was juiced up. I don't know. But the fall off from 87 to 89 is like 200 home runs in a comparable number of games, and the same with batting average, hits, and everything else.
I ask people all the time about that. People in the game, out of the game, on the periphery of the game.
Ground ball to the right side. Tuffle will take care of it. So a pretty good job for Aguilera. He gives up 1 run on the fly ball and 2 left, and it is 3-0 San Francisco. Hits. They have 1 extra base hit, a double by Kevin McReynolds. Len Dykstra, Tim Tuffle, and Howard Johnson in the bottom of the 6th. The Mets playing very well at home. That shouldn't come as any surprise. They were the best home team in the major leagues last year. Fly ball to right field to Maldonado. 1 down.
Another thing we've seen a lot of this year too, Vinny, first pitch hitting.
Oh yes.
Hitters going up there not wanting to get deep in the count.
You know what?
That's the young hitters too.
I was talking to Gene Michael, who's here scouting, and I brought that up, and he said not only do the modern day hitters not want to get into the count, they don't want to battle a curve. He said, I really think it's because pitchers now with the splitter have 4 pitches, and that's too much for the hitter. So if he gets a fastball around the plate, he goes after it right away. That at least was Gene's thinking. Right.
My thought is that they didn't spend enough time in the minor leagues. Talking about Bertie Tebbets, he says a young hitter needs 12 to 1,300 at-bats in the minor leagues where you get to learn how to hit the breaking ball. And that's how you really learn how to be a professional hitter. And he says the young hitters now are not getting that many at-bats at the minor league level, coming up here and not knowing how to hit the breaking ball and going after that fastball whenever it's thrown.
What about the splitter? Has it made that much of an impact, do you think?
It certainly has, because it's a pitch with such drastic movement. It's a gray area whether it's causing arm trouble or not, whether pitchers are throwing it incorrectly because they haven't learned how to throw it correctly.
Tuffle strikes out. That'll be the 4th strikeout.
Another thing we talk about the splitter is that when it's pushed back in your fingers and the fingers are spread apart, talking to Mel Stottlemyre about here, you see how that pitch goes down. It's either a breaking ball or the splitter. When the fingers are spread apart, the muscles just below the elbow begin to tense up because the tendons are, you're putting pressure on the tendons. Now, does that over a period of time cause fatigue, which in fact all of a sudden now causes problems and injury from the fastball? I don't think we have the answers to that, but I think we're getting to a period where we are definitely going to start asking them, what is the problem? Is there a problem with the splitter?
Well, there's Mel Stottlemyre, and in the other dugout, of course, is the guru of the split finger, Roger Craig.
And his pitching staff last year, only 1 pitcher went to the post all season long, and he was 39 years old, and Rick Rutschel just turned 40.
So you're thinking maybe, split maybe.
I think we're in gray. That's right. I think it's a gray area. It seems to be a pitch that has just been around, a nouveau pitch, if we will, and I think we are still learning about, 1, how to throw it, and 2, does it have side effects which lead to sore arms?
2 balls and no strikes. 2-1. Now, I'm not sure about all these pitchers, but for instance, the Giants have Carl Best with surgery on his right elbow. Kelly Downs had an inflamed right shoulder. Dave Gravecki does not belong in that category because that was a cancerous tumor that was removed.
You know, the other part of it is, I've been thinking about this splitter, is that it's a pitch that's effective right away. You can learn it and it's effective, but it doesn't mean that you learn how to throw it correctly from a mechanical standpoint.
2-1 to Howard Johnson. Ball 3.
The most difficult pitch on the arm, I always felt, was the slider. There was so much pressure on the elbow. And the bottom line of it is that any pitch can cause arm trouble if it's thrown from a mechanical standpoint incorrectly, and especially the slider. When you throw it incorrectly, you put so much pressure on the elbow, and that's where the trouble comes.
Well, here's some trouble coming now as Howard Johnson gets the walk, and Darryl Strawberry will come up with a man on base. Norm Sherry on the phone to the Giant bullpen. Bob Lillis sitting there in front of Norm Cherry. And in a moment, we'll get a response down there. Darryl Strawberry called out twice on strikes. Mike LaCosse, who had been the closer for Craig, is now a setup man, a middleman. Craig Lefferts, the left-hander, is the closer. And here is Strawberry trying to get the Mets back in the game. So Darryl Strawberry, 10 home runs, 17 RBIs. Time. Interesting point that the Giants last night, with 2 out in the 10th inning, walked 4 consecutive batters, including Strawberry. Krukow just gave up his first walk of the day with 2 out in the 6th inning. A moment of truth for Krukow. If Strawberry stings him, the Mets are back in the game. If he gets Darryl, he's leading 3-0 going to the 7th inning. So a big moment. And then after Strawberry, you have Kevin McReynolds.
And he struck him out twice already, Vinny. Second time up, Strawberry was up in the 4th inning. He pitched him very well. Hard stuff in, soft away. You wonder if he's going to change his pattern here.
Ball 2, 2-1 to count. 3-0 San Francisco. The Giants staff has 6 shutouts. The Giants have been shut out once. I guess the big shock is the fact the Mets do not have a shutout. With their great pitching staff, you would think they would blunder into it.
No shutouts yet. That's right. No shutouts. Now, Krukow, the thing that he has been doing extremely well today is being ahead of his hitters. Through the first 5 innings, he threw only 57 pitchers. He was ahead of everybody. Fell behind Johnson, and now he's behind 3-1 to Strawberry.
There goes the runner, and the ball is fouled back out of play. So Howard Johnson, a very good runner. He's stolen 8 out of 10. He was on the move, and Strawberry working on a full count. Strawberry had complained earlier of a sore shoulder, but no more. Johnson goes, slow curve, lined into right field. Howard John is on his way to third easily. Now Kevin McReynolds represents the tying run as he comes to the plate. And Krukow in a jam, truly for the first time today. Roger Craig hitting for the mound. He has that long drink of water. Mike LaCosse, side armor, 3/4 in the pen. And we'll see whether they go to LaCosse now.
Krukow arguing. You can see him right there saying, I'm okay, I'm okay. He is a real bulldog on the mound, coming off of shoulder surgery. He's had arthroscopic surgery on his shoulder and pitched very well last time out. Now he's gonna.
Yeah, you know what he just said? He said to Craig, yeah, he hit a good ball first time up. And when you look in your scorebook to McReynolds, he doubled in the 2nd inning. And that was the thing he just said.
And just missed another double. He just hooked it foul, that high fastball. And McReynolds was up in the 4th inning.
So Mike LaCosse will be coming in to try and bail out Mike Krukow, who goes 5 2/3 innings and goes out where he can't lose. He can only win or have nothing to do with it. Mike LaCosse will settle his hash, and it's 3-0 Giants. We'll be back. The pitching job to Mike LaCosse, and LaCosse 2 and 3 working on Kevin McReynolds. 0-1. McReynolds struggling with runners in position and 2 out so far this year. And he lifts a fly ball to shallow right. Maldonado is there. And so McReynolds can't do it in the 6th inning on a lazy fly ball to right. No runs, 1 hit, 2 left. And at the end of 6, 3-0 Giants. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Final round coverage of the LPGA's most prestigious event, the Mazda LPGA Championship, right here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Couple of scores. Dodgers beat the Expos 3-2. Pittsburgh leading Houston 2-1. Sid Bream hurt in that game, although they say it might not be serious. Those are the only games rolling along besides this one in the National League. In the American League, Oakland leading Boston 6-1 in the 4th inning. The A's with home runs by Gallego and Steinbach. Jose Uribe flied to right, grounded to short. Switch hitter going the other way now against Aguilera. High fly ball down the left field line. McReynolds able to get under it easily. 1 down. You know, looking at McReynolds for that moment and the fact he hit a fly ball to right field, when you check on Mike Lacoste, you can understand Roger Craig's thinking. I mean, McReynolds was the tying run and a home run hitter. And last year, Lacoste was absolutely brilliant as far as facing hitters in tough spots and not giving up home runs. Lacoste faced over 200 batters with runners on base last year and did not allow a home run. That was part of Craig's thinking, perhaps. 0-2 to Mike.
Pretty good hitter, too, Vinny. If you don't think he is, you can ask him. He'll tell you how good he is.
And he hits one wide to third, speared by Howard Johnson. He's gone. Lacoste has 2 home runs in his career. The last one he hit was against Tom Browning in Cincinnati a couple of years ago.
That's one that says, "Get out of my kitchen." And his home runs that he hit did not come on that kind of swing.
Like Krukow. 2 down, and here's Brett Butler. He'll consume a little time just to let Lacoste get in and sit down, because Lacoste only made 2 pitches to McReynolds. Butler single, struck out, grounded out. 1 for 3. Good fastball. And right now, home plate in shadow. Sunshine still on the mound. And it can get a little tough to pick up that fastball.
Yeah, especially the fastball. Pitcher's got good movement on the fastball. It's really advantage for the pitcher here.
That's another strike.
The ball just changes color. You know, it goes from that bright white and goes into the shadows. Boom, becomes kind of a gray.
Well, I think as the hitting instructors are always teaching the hitters about the rotation of the ball. Fastball high. You look at a baseball and it's mostly all white skin, and if a fella throws a curveball, you're going to see a lot of white as the ball rotates on an angle coming in. If it's a fastball spinning hard, you're going to see a lot of the seams, which means you're going to see a dark, almost a red and black ball. That's strike 3, and he didn't see it, whether it was red and white or what. So Butler is frozen at the plate in the 7th inning, and it's 3-0 Giants. Dave Magadan to start it off. Magadan followed by Lyons and then Elster. It's only right, I guess, that on a day saluting old-timers, the 20th anniversary of the Mets, that the Giants should be in town, either the Giants or the Dodgers. And the Giant influence on the Mets uniform, if you look at the helmet worn by Dave Magadan, you will see the orange NY. And that orange NY was the way the Giants wore it when I was a kid growing up here.
National League Giant NY, that's right.
And the blue is the royal blue of the Dodgers. 0-2. Fouled away. Magadan a couple of ground balls to second and short. Don Ozzie has been throwing in the bullpen because if they get anything going, Aguilera's due to bat fourth when the Mets come up in the bottom of the seventh. There's Don Ozzie. Backlash got that to foul it off. 0-2.
With Hernandez being injured, they'll give Madigan a good solid 2 months to show this organization whether he's going to be able to hit or not on a regular basis. One of the knocks is that he hasn't had much power, and you've got to look at the number of times that he goes to the plate. Last year he got just over 300 at-bats, and the year before that just under 200.
1-2 the count to Dave Magadan. He figures to get the start again tomorrow. Scott Garrelts will be going for the Giants and Sid Fernandez for the Mets. Big crowd today. The Mets are averaging better than 33, almost 34,000 a game, and they've got a lot more than that at home today. The paid attendance 45,565 with over 46,000 at Shea Stadium. 1-2 to Dave Magadan. Mike Krukow went 5 2/3, no runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, and now Lacoste picking up for him. You know, we were talking before about the splitter and about questioning, or not questioning, just wondering whether it contributes to sore arm. Here's another fella who throws a splitter and had to have arthroscopic surgery. Foul back.
Had bone chips and fragments and odds and ends, as he calls them, taken out of his elbow. Oddly enough, Mike Lacoste shows a couple of different kinds of splitters, if you will. He throws one where the middle finger comes around the ball and actually acts like a curveball, and then he throws another one where he turns his hand to the inside and acts like a screwball. And I said, no wonder they took all that garbage out of your elbow.
Fastball hit in the air to straightaway center, and Brett Butler is there. The other thing about Mike Lacoste, we talked about how tough he is on hitters with runners on base. Last year he faced 247 left-handers and didn't allow a home run.
That'll be because of that sinker and that splitter that he throws as a screwball, which will run away from those left-handed hitters. You know, Mike said something yesterday talking to him about the splitter. He says, you know, if you're a marginal pitcher or a guy maybe toward the end of his career, or some people might think it's the end of a career, you find a pitch that works. Somebody else says, well, it cause you arm trouble. So what? You'd be a fool not to use it if it's going to keep you in the big leagues, even if it means at times, and there you see a picture of it right there. That's one way that he holds it. Now he'll hold it a different way to throw it as the screwball.
We were doing a little research on Mike Lacoste and talking about how well he did last year against left-handers. This year, however, he's faced 52 left-handers and given up 2 home runs. It's got to happen. Over the top fastball. That's that sinker. That takes care of Barry Lyons. 2 down. And the batter will be Kevin Elster. So Mike Lacoste trying to save this one for Mike Krukow. Give Krukow his 3rd win. Lacoste trying to get his 4th save.
That shot of Lacoste, when he holds the ball down to his side, you can see he sets up for the split finger fastball. And you can see see how the veins pop out on the back of his hand. It causes those tendons to tighten up, and as a result, the tendons up just below the elbow begin to tighten up. And that's where some people say that the problem of the splitter will lie.
The other thing, too, if you're wondering about him tipping off, if he holds it in a split finger position, then he can always change it to the fastball grip. But if he was holding it with a fastball grip and then went to change it to the split, you can almost see him having to do that in his glove. So that's why he holds it in the splitter, and then he can do whatever he wants in the secrecy of the leather.
Do not show the hitters what is coming. Can you imagine? Okay, we're talking about Will Clark hitting 565 or whatever it is on 31 pitches, and then tell him what pitch is coming?
2-1. Fly ball to right field. Maldonado will put it away. Although I've heard that when you can't get a hitter out, you might as well tell him what's coming. Maybe he'll get himself all messed up. It is 3-0 Giants. We're going to the bottom of the 7th and now moving to the 8th.
Stroh's Light now comes in a brand new can. A brand new 6-pack. A brand new 12-pack. A brand new 24-pack. And a brand new 11,000-pack.
Introducing the Buick Park Avenue Ultra. Very few people will ever drive this much automobile.
The great American road belongs to Buick.
What makes the new Burger King Cheese Trio so tasty?
Cheese, 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 cheese.
The burger for serious cheese lovers.
Cheese.
Zesty Monterey Jack, tangy American, hearty Swiss, 3 cheeses, 2 flame broiled patties.
Cheese trio. Cheese, cheese.
Come and get it, cheese lovers, at Burger King for a limited time.
Burger King, my main cheese. Cheese trio.
Fancy perfumey aftershave. It's got to be a quarterback's locker.
Real guys who get mud on their uniforms use rugged, honest stuff. Ice Blue Aqua Velva.
There's something about today's Aqua Velva, man.
So you still think linemen are dumb?
Here are some of the veterans you'll see at the ballpark this season. And some of our rookies. Now playing at a ballpark near you. Get up and go.
The preceding message was furnished by Major League Baseball.
One of the keys here, you can see Mike Lacoste setting up for the splitter, and then as he goes into a windup, he sets and changes for the fastball. You see the fingers come back together, and he sets up for the fastball pitch. One of the most important things is that the heel or your wrist sets up in the same spot in the glove, believe it or not. A lot of people don't understand that, is that when the hand goes into the glove, that the wrist hits the glove at the same spot every time, because if the wrist were to hit it in different areas on different pitches, that's as much as giving it away as how you're holding the ball.
1-1. And since there's nothing else to do, sitting on the bench for the opposing team, you're watching any mannerism.
Sure.
There are guys who stuck their tongue out
Sure.
when they were throwing
That's
one
right.
pitch as opposed to another.
All you got to do is cross them up one time and they'll never believe you.
1 ball and 1 strike. 1-2 to Robbie Thompson. Terry Leach down in the pen as you see Mike Lacoste hooking to Terry Kennedy. There's Leach. We're in the 8th inning. Giants 3, Mets nothing. Hard to believe that the Mets, who led the National League in runs last year, are tied for next to last this year. Down goes Robbie Thompson.
The first baseman, Will Clark.
On a pitch that looked like it might have come off his knuckles. Robbie right on top of the plate. It's the back end of the bat. He did hit it too.
You know, to conclude that thought about the Mets, they led the National League in runs last year, and they're tied for next to last. Who's last? The world champion.
World champion Los Angeles Dodgers. That's right. Funny, a club last year, the New York Mets, 152 home runs. Second in the National League, with 30 behind them. Cincinnati Reds 120, 122.
Why are these men in the dugout? Those numbers will tell you part of the story. Fly ball to left field. McReynolds is there. And so Clark has a home run and a double and only goes 2 for 4.
Only 2 for 4. And hit that ball right on the nose, and he just happened to hit it straight up in the air.
Must be much fun to come to the ballpark when you know you can hit like that.
You know what's more fun? Coming to the ballpark and not having to pitch to him.
Yeah. Kevin Mitchell coming up as we take another look at Will Clark. He can swap notes with another pride of New Orleans, Rusty Staub. 0-1.
I saw Rusty today here for Old Timers Day in the clubhouse for the game, looking fit and proper. Rusty, a restaurateur here in New York, a couple of restaurants.
The Grand Orange.
Grand Orange.
Mitchell flied to right, homered to right, and then was walked intentionally. 3-0 Giants, 8th inning, 2 out. Now back. You know, we were talking before about the trouble hitting certain breaking balls, and you need 1,300 at-bats in the minor leagues. One of the things that Kevin Mitchell does, he did it with Donnell Nixon. They would practice, and they really thought it helped. Practice hitting wiffle balls in the wind because the ball was so erratic. They felt that it actually helped eye-hand coordination.
Eye-hand coordination, make you wait, too. And watch the ball. A lot of people don't watch it. A lot of hitters don't watch the ball. They think they do, but they take their eye off it. And it makes you wait. All the hitting coaches and hitters will tell each other, go up there and make sure you wait. I want you to wait so you don't pull off the ball. Well, if you hit a wiffle ball, that's exactly what you have to do. Wait for that last piece of movement. So the appeal call by Barry Lyons. Eric Drake says no.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Just missed. You know, Joe McIlvaine, the Mets vice president of baseball operations, said that Kevin Mitchell was traded from New York to San Diego after Mitchell's rookie year because the Mets were committed to acquiring Kevin McReynolds, and the Padres selected Mitchell from a group of available third basemen. They just wanted McReynolds that badly, and they paid the price giving up Kevin Mitchell. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Ball 3. That was quite a trade, and here are some of the people involved, and that's a group.
The Mets very happy with the way McReynolds has played for them offensively and defensively as well. Talk about Dale Murphy coming to the New York Mets over the winter, and possibility of McReynolds going to center field, all kinds of combination that you will hear during winter trade talks.
Popped in the air, foul off to the right. Barry Lyons coming with Dave Magadan. It is Magadan. So the Giants are gone in order, and the last 9 have been retired, but it's still 3-0 San Francisco. Now's the 2-1 in the 7th inning in Houston. And over in the American League, Oakland leading Boston 6-1 thanks to a little muscle by Mike Gallego and Terry Steinbach. Mookie Wilson will bat for Rick Aguilera. 1 ball and no strikes. Mike Lacoste, who came in to bail out Mike Krukow, working on Mookie, who's really struggling from either side of the plate.
Funny, you look down that scoreboard, Benny, 3-0, 3-2, 3-1, the 3 games in the National League today. They've got 3, 6, 8, 11, 12 runs, and 6 teams we've got going here today. 1 game in the 8th, 1 the final, 1 in the 7th inning. Lower scoring runs. We're talking about no runs, no hitting, no run. Only 9 hits in the game here today.
2-2 the count to Mookie Wilson. Mike Lacoste, who came in and has done well. He got McReynolds on a fly ball and then retired the side in the 7th inning. Mike's had a good career. He's been around a while and done very well. 2-2 from Glendale. Ball 3.
Has extended his career with that splitter. He's done a good job for the Giants. I played with him in Cincinnati. Yeah. That's right. Played a game in Atlanta one evening or afternoon, whatever it was, 5 innings. I pitched 5 innings. I was ahead 2-0, I believe. And I hit on the top of the 6th inning, came out of the batter's box in Atlanta and pulled a groin muscle. Got to first base, or it was out, one of the 2. Went to, and I couldn't pitch. I couldn't pitch anymore. I had to come out of the game. Mike Lacoste came in. 12 outs in a row.
Line drive at Uribe. So Wilson hits it on the button, but right at the shortstop. 1 down, and Lenny Dykstra coming up. So you see one center fielder and then the other. Dykstra's importance to the Mets gets bigger and bigger because Mookie Wilson is struggling so much. 0-1.
The Mets, of course, coming in as a team hitting only .232 with an outstanding pitching staff. Their opponents are hitting only .215 against them. They have some guys that are struggling. There's Greg Jeffries behind Mookie, sitting next to Mazzilli.
Yeah, he stopped to talk to Mazzilli. I noticed earlier a couple of hitters talking to Mazzilli. He's a senior hitter down there in the dugout, and he has something to say to almost every hitter. 0-1. Bill Robinson, who would be the hitting instructor, is the first base coach. So Mazzilli probably helps Bill out as far as times in the dugout. Bill presented Darryl Strawberry with the Sporting News silver bat before the game.
The veterans on the bench certainly take part in helping the youngsters coming along. Another one, individuals on the Met bench, Buddy Harrelson, who was recently considered for that Toronto job. He's Davey Johnson's right-hand man.
Bud Harrelson said, I don't know exactly his thinking on that, but he said they asked me about managing in Toronto. He said they must think I'm a grandfather.
You know,
I have children 8, 5, and 2. He said.
Yeah, he's the reason I talked to him yesterday about it is he has such tremendous loyalty to this organization. He has so many years as a player and as a coach, and Davey Johnson's right-hand man and kind of sounding board on the bench. He just has a great deal of respect and loyalty to this Met organization. Not that he doesn't want to manage, and not that he wouldn't consider it this winter, but timing in the middle of the season, he's just not the kind of guy to do it.
1-2. Check swing. 2 balls and 2 strikes to count. Of course, really, while we're just speculating, it would appear to be the favorite of the speculators is Lou Piniella for the Toronto job. But you have to.
Mr. Steinbrenner has given permission for him to talk. Funny, in the paper the other day said that's all he gave permission to do was talk, nothing else.
Mike Lacoste going head-to-head with Lenny Dykstra. 2-2. Roll it to the right side. Robbie Thompson. 2 down. So just looking back in the box score, you realize how dominating the pitchers are. The Mets have had one man get to third in the 6th inning and another in the 2nd. So they've had a total of 2 men get to third base. The last 6 in a row have been retired by Lacoste. Meanwhile, the Giants have not done anything against Aguilera. He's retired 9 in a row. And it remains 3-0 San Francisco with 2 out, bottom of the 8th inning. Strike. Tim Tuffle grounded to short, struck out twice. Tuffle hitting .267. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That looked like a splitter that he would come around on. Either that or the breaking ball, one of the two. It's very difficult to tell.
It really is. It looks so much. One minute you think it's a curve, and then you say, wow, maybe that was a splitter. It's tough to read. Watch the big hump on this pitch. Up there. Oh, that's not a pitch.
That looks like maybe it's a high sinker.
Yeah, that's not the pitch we were expecting.
Don't forget, now Mike Lacoste is about 6'6" tall, too.
Fastball, 2-2. Dealt us the wrong card. Bottom of the 8th, 2 out. 2-2. Ball 3. Lacoste, who is not considered the closer now, but is trying very hard to close this one. Fastball hit to straightaway center. Brett Butler. So in the 8th inning, 7 in a row retired. And at the end of 8, the Giants 3 and the Mets nothing.
This is my new Buick Skylark. And since it's a Buick, it doesn't surprise me that the Skylark is very stylish. With room for 5, and it's smooth and powerful. What did surprise me, though, is that Buick's little limousine is priced less than a Honda Accord DX. So, I got a little limousine for the price of a little car.
The great American love belongs to Buick.
make the lion bigger.
Smaller. That's better. How about black?
How about red with block letters?
Black.
Blue. Barley?
Barley. How about green?
I think blue.
And you are?
Peter Stroh.
You like blue, Mr. Stroh?
Yes, I do.
You got it. Script?
Block.
Stroh's or Stroh?
Stroh's.
You got it. Bigger?
Bigger.
You got it.
Introducing a new package from Stroh, the only major brewery in America where the family still makes all the decisions.
Less foam?
I think more.
You got it.
Stroh's, fire brewed, family brewed for more than 200 years.
So there you are. It's the mound at Shea Stadium in the endless pursuit of yesteryear, and you're pitching in a Mets uniform. How did it feel today?
It felt great today.
Did it?
It felt fine at the beginning and then a little sore at the end.
I was watching you warm up, and you were really warming up, and I thought he's going to run out of gas before he actually pitches.
You called it right again. That's exactly right.
But you got away with it. You pitched well enough, had some fun, and you had one ball that scared me, the ball that Cepeda hit
Oh,
back.
Cepeda, we knocked that down. It was a great day to see all the old players, the old-timers, the 69 New York Mets. On top of it all, just the one sadness of the one man who you knew and loved, who I loved, who was the manager of the New York Mets, who was dearly missed, but in everybody's heart today, in Gil Hodges. But he was one of a kind and meant so much to that organization.
There you are. See, you blocked that with your
Oh, you
chest.
see me check the runner?
Freeze the runner.
Boy, you don't lose those instinctive skills, do you?
Is that scary to be that great? Old Timers Day. Boy, I'll tell you what, in a man's lifetime, it's a blink of an eye to go from an all-star to an old-timer.
I passed the ball there, like passing the stick in a relay race to Jerry Kuzman. An outstanding left-hander he was with this New York Met team for many years, and on to Minnesota, the White Sox.
And now it is Don Ozzie. Ozzie picking up for Aguilera, who followed Ojeda to the mound. 3-0 Giants were in the 9th inning. Ozzie has come back, and of course the Mets are delighted to have an extra strong arm in the pen. Ozzie 6'3" and about 220 pounds. 1-1. If you're keeping score with us, Mookie Wilson, who batted for Aguilera, stays in the game. And since Dykstra made out in the 8th inning, he doesn't figure to bat. So Mookie takes over in center field, and Ozzie goes in Dykstra's spot. Ozzie with over 11 years in the major leagues, working on Candy Maldonado. He originally came up with the Red Sox, and many years from 1978 through 83 with California, from 85 through 88 with Baltimore, and now with the Mets. Signed by a free agent February this year. Line drive. That's the shortstop, Kevin Elster.
You wonder why the Mets have won so many games in the last at-bat. Recently, they've been doing that like clockwork. It's funny, you look down the stat sheet and you look at the bullpen. Ozzie an ERA 1.23, Aguilera 1.29, Leach 0.68, McDowell 2.95, and that's the highest of the guys that come out of the bullpen. Randy Myers, their big guy, who's 4-1, 0.78. 0.78.
Ken Oberkfell grounded out twice, had a scoring fly ball to pick up the Giants' 3rd run that came in the 6th inning. In there. 1-1. Hit foul into the crowd off to the left, and the count 1-2. Oberkfell hit the ball hard in the 4th inning. He lost a hit. A good play by Howard Johnson to throw him out. But then got that scoring fly ball in the 6th inning. Fouled away. Three runs, 5 hits for the Giants, 2 of them home runs by Clark and Mitchell, and a double by Clark. Mets, no runs, 4 hits, a double by McReynolds. Two and two.
A lot of goose eggs on that board, Benny. Only 9 hits in the game.
Overfell refusing to bite. They check at third. Jim Quick said no swing. 3 and 2.
Last Saturday we did a game in Chicago, 6 hits, wasn't it? 6 hits, 1-0, 6 hits.
We've had our share. That's right. 1 run, 3 hits, no runs, 3 hits. Line drive right at Magadan. There are other thoroughbreds running in the sunshine today. Let's find out about them and go to Gail Gardner.
Thank you, Vin. The 114th running of the Preakness at Pimlico. It had to be one of the great stretch runs in the history of the sport. It finished in a photo. Derby winner Sunday Silence getting the nod literally by a nose over Easy Goer. Sunday Silence with Pat Valenzuela aboard wins in a time of 1:53.4. Sunday Silence now the winner of the first 2 legs of the Triple Crown. Let's go back to Vin and Tom.
Okay, Gail, so it'll be a big story at Belmont for Sunday Silence by a nose. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Terry Kennedy, check swing foul. Kennedy appeared as a pinch hitter for Kurt Manwaring in the 6th inning and grounded out. By the way, don't go wandering off. In the bottom of the 9th inning, the Mets will have Howard Johnson, Darryl Strawberry, and Kevin McReynolds. So that'll be a formidable task.
Kennedy, of course, came over to the Giants in the trade with Bob Melvin last year. He was just 228. People were very worried that his career was on the way out. Career 266 hitter. Good acquisition by the Giants.
3-1. And he's walked him. So the 2-out pass to Kennedy will bring up Jose Uribe. 9th inning.
Jose Uribe.
Uribe flied to right, grounded to short, flied to left. He's 0 for 3. 3-0 in favor of San Francisco. Big crowd of over 46,000, but they have been lulled by Giant pitching. Krukow and Lacoste. And that's popped in the air at third. Howard Johnson took his eye off for a moment to see where third base was. And that's that. No runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end of 8 1/2, with Johnson, Strawberry, and McReynolds due up, this man will try to keep them quiet.
Some guys look at this, they see just another brake job. Just another brake job? Not to the guy who drives this car. Not to me either.
Mr. Goodrich knows it's not just a car, it's your freedom.
American Airlines to Europe, with service to 13 wonderful cities.
The game of the week has been brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealer. The great American road belongs to Buick. By Stroh's Fire Brewed, Family Brewed for more than 200 years. By Armor All Car Wax, because we're crazy about cars too. And by MasterCard. Master the moment with MasterCard, the official card of Major League Baseball. Don't forget tomorrow on NBC Sports Ringside, an exciting 12-round welterweight bout. Glenwood, the real Beast Brown, and young Dick Tiger. And then NBC Sports World tomorrow presents boxing at its best. Nigel the Dark Destroyer Benn defends his title against Michael the Force Watson in a 12-round Commonwealth middleweight title bout. That's tomorrow right here on NBC. The Giants trying for a knockout punch of their own. They have the Mets shut out. And Mike Lacoste will have to wade through the heart of the Met attack. And that heart has been beating faintly today. The Mets with 4 hits. McReynolds a 1-out double in the second. Bob Ojeda had a base hit. Barry Lyons had a base hit. And Darryl Strawberry a single. The Mets have had 2 men as far as third. So naturally, Johnson, Stottlemyre, Harrelson and company quite concerned about the power outage. Roger Craig, who has relied on the home runs of Clark and Mitchell and the right arms of Krukow and Lacoste. Howard Johnson, a couple of fly balls to right, and last time up walked, got around to third and stayed there. Right. No sunshine to contend with. It's straight up 6 in New York. To Howard Johnson. Howard Johnson was the one who came into Davy Johnson's office and said, Skip, have you ever thought about me batting second? And Davy said, no, to tell you the truth, I haven't, but we'll try it. And from that day on, he really took off. No balls, 2 strikes. And he hits a fly ball to left field, and Mitchell is there. And the Mets are down to their last 2 outs with Strawberry and McReynolds. The coordinating producer for NBC Baseball and the producer of today's game, John J. Filippelli. The telecast of today's game of the week, directed by Andy Rosenberg. Pregame produced by Les Dennis. Pregame directed by Joe Michaels. Technical directors Sal Nagita and Richard Sansevier. Foul ball. Strawberry struck out twice, called, and then singled to right field in the 6th inning. He was the last hitter Mike Krukow faced. And Lacoste has retired 8 in a row. 0-2.
And he's doing it by throwing strikes, too, Vinny. Basic thing that any pitcher's got to do, and he throws strikes. Ahead of the hitter, ahead of the hitter.
You always hear about Strawberry winning a game with his bat. The other night, he made a magnificent catch of what would have been a game-tying home run by Eddie Murray. He did goaltending in the right field corner, and at 6'6", he was able to actually take a ball away before it went out of the park for a home run.
He's had his pal Eric Davis do that to him a couple of times from Cincinnati, too.
Yeah, right.
Steal him. Bring it back.
I heard a scout talking about Strawberry and how much ability he had. The scout said he could have a lousy year and hit 30 home runs.
Yep, I would believe it, too.
0-2.
Hard to imagine how strong he is because he's so big, 6'6". You don't realize the muscle mass that he does have. He looks like a tall, skinny kid till you get up next to him. I think in the book he's listed at 205 pounds. He's close to 230, I would bet.
Hit to the hole. Knocked down by Uribe, but that's all. I doubt very much, even had Jose handled the ball cleanly, he was going away from his play, first base. Be very, very difficult to have gotten Strawberry. It's a base hit.
Not only can Darryl hit the ball out of the ballpark, he does have terrific speed, base running speed. Beautiful arm, great defensive player when he wants to. He can be very lax at times defensively, but one of those players that is really blessed with tremendous ability offensively and defensively.
0-1. McReynolds had one big chance. That was in the 6th inning. He represented the tying run. There were runners at first and third and 2 out. And Craig had Lacoste come in to pitch to him, and McReynolds flied to right. Line drive base hit. Strawberry sees Butler is deep, so he just keeps on going to third.
Mike Lacoste looks like he can do nothing but just get out of the way, and he barely had time to do that as well. McReynolds hit the ball sharply all day long. Only time he didn't hit the ball well is when he had runners in scoring position. Oddly enough, McReynolds last year hit .317 with men in scoring position. Lacoste got him to pop up last time, but he hit that ball right on the nose.
Well, Mike Lacoste will be facing another situation of the tying run at the plate. And the closer, the newer closer for the Giants, Craig Lefferts, throwing in the pen back of him. That was the job Lacoste had. That's really the job he wants. Now back. So today, Lacoste has pitched well enough to be the stopper, the setup man, the middle man, and do it all. But he hasn't done it all yet. He's got Magadan and on deck Lee Mazzilli to bat for Barry Lyons. Craig, Lillis, and Mazzilli. 0-1. There's a hard ground ball to Uribe. He hangs it to Thompson. Back to Clark, and the Giants, who lead the league in turning double plays, come up with their 44th, and Mike Lacoste shuts out the Mets. So Lacoste got the double play. A great job of relief pitching. In fact, Krukow did well as out.
Great starting pitching, Mike Krukow, and a great job out of the bullpen by Mike Lacoste.
For the Mets, blanked for the third time this year, and for the Giant pitching staff, their 7th shutout. Don't forget, next Saturday for the game of the week, some of you will see the Oakland A's and the New York Yankees, others the Reds and the Cubs. It all starts with Major League Baseball and Inside Look next Saturday only on NBC. The Giants beat the Mets 3-0. For Tom Seaver, Vin Scully saying so long from New York.
This has been a presentation of NBC Sports, the leader in innovative sports television.
Nigel Benn. No man has beaten him, and all have fallen by 7. Benn battles Michael Watson Sunday on NBC Sports World.
The side of the ground ball past Sabo. After it gets past Sabo, it hits Sandberg. And you see Bob Engel calling Sandberg out, although the ruling clearly stipulates he's safe. Look at a fiery Don Zimmer, who was kicked out of the ball game for proving the umpire was wrong. That was last night. What kind of thrills will we have tonight? Stay with us and see them all.
Cubs baseball is brought to you in part by Bud Light, the one light that outshines them all. Everything else is just a light. Your Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana Better Buick dealers. The Great American Road belongs to Buick. True Value Hardware. For quality selection and personal attention, make True Value Hardware your store of first choice. The Chicago Tribune, where you'll always get the freshest sports. Unical 76, to invite you to go with the spirit of 76. Pepsi, a generation ahead. Canon, proud to be the official camera of the Chicago Cubs. United Airlines, rededicated to giving you the service you deserve. Come fly the friendly sky. And Nissan, building cars for people who want more than just a means of getting from here to there. Nissan, built for the human race.
I'm Jim. Baseball at Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati as the Cubs shoot for their 5th in a row.
And this is the 5th in a series of 5 straight left-handers that the Cubs are going to face. Tom Browning going to the mound, and a left-hander going to the mound for the Cubs, and that's Paul Kilgus. Harry, they've had such good luck against the left-handers, 9-3 overall. They should be in for a good one tonight.
And I would imagine that other managers are going to think twice about starting left-handers against the Cubs.
No doubt about the fact that the Cubs have hit the ball very well. There's 2 ex-Cubs in the lineup, Rolando Rooms and Manny Trio, both playing for Cincinnati.
All right, we'll be back with the lineups in a moment. try for their 5th in a row. Here are the lineups. For the Cubs, DeCenzo in center, Law at third, Sandberg at second, Grace at first, Berryhill catching, McLendon in left, Dunston at short, Jackson in right, Paul Kilgus, who's won 3 and lost 4, will be on the mound. For the Reds, it is Sabo at third, Trio, Manny Trio, our good friend, at second, Larkin the shortstop, Davis in left, Bensinger at first, O'Neill in right, former Cub Rolando Rooms in center, Diaz the catcher, and Tom Browning, who's won 3 and lost 3, on the mound. The umpires are Dutch Rennert behind the plate, Fred Brocklander at first, Bob Engel at second, and Paul Runge at third. And we're ready to play baseball here in Cincinnati.
It's been a long dry spell for Tom Browning. He won his last game on April 25th. The record this year, 3-3. The ERA very high for him at 4.26. Last year he was 18-5 for the Reds.
First pitch of the ball game. Swung on. Fly. Easy out to Davis in left. On the first pitch, DeCenzo flies out to Davis. 1 man out. That brings up Vance Law batting second.
Tom Browning is a fast worker. He will not mess around too much on the mound. He keeps coming right at you. He's had very good control this year, although the last 3 times out he's been rocked by the opposition. 7, 7, and 5 runs in his last 3 starts.
DeCenzo now is 3 out of 29 since he joined the Cubs from Iowa. That's under a 111 batting average. 1 out, nobody gone. Here's Vance Law. Still the Cubs win. Dunston's hitting 152. Still the Cubs win. Darren Jackson's hitting 229. Still the Cubs win. 1 ball, no strikes. Swung and he missed. 78 degrees at game time. A lovely night for baseball. Oral Hershiser won his 6th victory of the year for the Dodgers. There's a high pop fly. Everybody chasing it. And Manny Trio makes the catch. Covered a lot of ground on that one. 39-year-old veteran infielder.
Ron Oster is still nursing a sore hamstring. He hurt it in the ball game last night, so Manny Trio getting a look at second base. This is a good play coming over into foul territory. Benzinger's nowhere near the ball. Trio calls for it, and he makes it just before the bullpen.
2 men are out, and here's Ryne Sandberg hitting 284. 3 homers, 15 RBI. You know what I was just thinking? There's a strike call. Why wouldn't it be a good idea to try Sean Dunston hitting both ways? There's a drive into right field for a hit. And Sandberg is single to right. You know, up until now, I'm sure he would have resisted any such suggestion. But now he must be willing to try anything. He's hitting only 151. No homers, only 2 RBIs. With his speed, he might make a good switch hitter.
Larry, the natural thing would be to try him in winter ball. But you'd have to convince him to go down there and play in the wintertime. Something that's not too easy to do. But I would think over the course of his career, if he could learn to turn over from the other side, it'd be beneficial to him. He wouldn't have to look at that breaking ball breaking away from him anymore. But that's easier said than done. That's a very difficult transition, especially for a man who has never done it.
Well, if I recall, Kissinger did it very late in his career, so far as coming up to the big league. There's a base hit for Grace. Mark Grace singles sharply.
And it took the glove right off the hand of Tom Browning. His glove wound up in foul territory down the first baseline. It was quite a throw by Browning.
But he's fortunate it wasn't in his head. That's how hard the ball was hit.
Ball's hit right on the line, and there you can see Browning trying to swipe at it a la Frank Viola. And the glove goes one way, the ball goes the other, and Browning goes yet another way.
So we had Sandberg and Grace with back-to-back singles, but there were 2 out. As a leadoff man swung at the first pitch and flied out. And then Vance Law popped up. So here's Damon Berryhill, who had 4 out of 4 last night. Switch hitter. There's a high pop fly. Should be caught. There's Eric. Whoa, a collision, but he held on to the ball. That retires the side.
Davis might be hurt.
2 men are left on base on 2 hits, no runs. We go into the bottom of the first, no score.
A participating advertiser of Cubs baseball is Pepsi, a generation ahead.
Save on the Zebco Pro Staff Graphite Spinning Combo at Sportmart. Only $24.94 after $10 manufacturer's rebate.
Sportmart, for the way you play. Raise your hand. You got it. Raise your hand. You know it. You feel confident, secure.
You got it. That Sure Secure Confident feeling. Because Sure's double-action formula fights wetness while it kills bacteria that cause odor. Be sure of both odor and wetness protection. Get Sure.
Confident, confident, try and secure. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're sure. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're sure.
Make the other side green with envy when you use quality yard and garden supplies from True Value Hardware stores. The Hose-Mobile hose cart from Suncast for just $22.88 has an easy link hose connector and faucet adapter. The Gates 50-foot Flexogen hose for only $16.99 is lightweight and flexible. And the Rain Date electronic water timer from Green Thumb turns water on and off at pre-selected times. It's just $29.99 at participating True Value Hardware stores and home centers.
When you were a kid, you wanted your bike to sound like a car. Nowadays, you'd like your car to be as quiet as that old bike. So use a gasoline that can do a better job quieting knocks. One that's 2 octane higher than regular unleaded. Unical's 89 octane.
Hey, Jimmy.
Hi, Murph.
Pitched a great game last night.
Gee, thanks.
Harry Carey back in Cincinnati as we go in the bottom of the first with Chris Sabo leading it off, hitting .221 for the year. He had 1 out of 4 last night. They hit in the first inning. There's the strikeoff. Boy, you talk about parity in the National League in the Eastern Division as well as in the Western Division. Over the last 10 games, the best anybody's done is win 6, lose 4. They're either 6-4 and 5-5 or 4-6. Here's a high pump foul out of play. The Cubs with 5-5 over the last 10 games.
There you look at the numbers of Paul Kilgus going to the mound for his 9th start of the year, his first career starting appearance against the Reds. And he's lost his last 2, going 6 innings in both of them.
There's a base hit. And Sabo starts the ball game with a single to center. And that will bring up Manny Trio. Good hit and run man. Slow a foot. Make him hit the ball on the ground. You got almost a cinch double play. But a good handler of the bat, a veteran, a fine guy to have on a ball club, as the Cubs will attest to. They had him twice.
Sabo has never seen the move of Kilgus, so he's going to get a little longer lead. He wants to see the best move that Kilgus has very early.
Now the pitch. There's a strike call. The Dodgers beat Montreal 3-2 today. Hershiser, the winner, 6-3. Perez, the loser for Montreal, 0-7. Pirates and Houston tied in extra inning.
They cross onto the touching line and
Clark